Joining me this episode of The Gospel Truth. I'm your host, Martin Wilson, and we have another exciting show for you today. I hope you guys are ready to rock and roll. We are going to have some fun with this one. We got a hot topic, hot debate. We got Mike Jones from IP, and we got old Mr. Orthodox Muslim with us, and we are going to fire it up. The topic is Muhammad in the Bible? And so we are going to have a fun debate, and I thank you for joining me this evening on tonight for this highly anticipated debate. But before I bring the guys in, I do want to make sure you know to subscribe to The Gospel Truth and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any shows that are coming up here in the future on The Gospel Truth. Make sure you do that, hit the subscribe, and don't miss out on anything coming up here in the future. And you also have the Gospel Truth not only on YouTube, but on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and TikTok. So make sure you flow over to those social media platforms and get it in, man. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell with those particular platforms as well. If you don't know, the God's Truth is on iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify as well. So if you don't like the video, you just want the audio, you got your option with the podcast. So make sure you flow over there and get the podcast going, all right? With that said, I do have some shows that are coming up here in the future that I want you guys to be fully aware of. All right. Coming up here soon, I have Chris Date and Matthew Wiersma, physically in hell forever. Basically, the premise of this debate: when we die, are we physically, those who go to hell, are they physically in hell forever? That's essentially the premise of this debate. And so, hopefully, you guys are looking forward to this one. Man, should be a great one, man. Whenever the hell topic comes up, Chris Date is the face that usually pops in your head. He is one of the leading voices in this conversation there. And so after that, I do have a Unitarian versus Trinitarian debate coming up. The hypostatic union logical and biblical. So we got a fun one coming up. So if you guys are looking forward to it, man, I am looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to it. And so hopefully that will be something you're looking forward to. All right. And lastly, the Gospel Truth Debate Conference is coming up here in a few days, man. This is a big thing for the Gospel Truth. This is the first conference for the Gospel Truth. And I tell you, man, I did not know what I was getting myself into when I planned this thing, but it has blown up and it's really doing well as far as attendance wise. We're expecting over 240 people at this conference. And this is the first go around for the TGT in the conference arena. So from what I understand, that's pretty good. And so hopefully you guys, if you have yet to make the decision to go, hopefully you guys will go and I get to meet you at the conference. All right. With that said, let me bring the debaters in here. And so, because this is a highly anticipated, we do want to get into it. We don't waste too much time. So, what's up, fellas? How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, man. We're ready to rock and roll, man. About to get this going. This is a highly anticipated debate. Definitely a very interesting, fascinating topic. And so, a lot of people on TikTok, a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of people all over YouTube have been looking forward to this debate. And as we can see, the live chat is definitely popping right now. So, without further ado, I'm going to allow you guys to introduce yourselves to the audience, learn what you do, where you're from, your ministry, or whatever you do, man. Let them know it's your opportunity. Start with Mike Jones, man. Go ahead and give a quick introduction to yourself, man.
Yeah, I'm Mike Jones. I run Inspiring Philosophy, Christian apologetic channel. I make a lot of videos defending the Bible. That's about it. I don't know what else you want from me.
All right. Quick and fast, man. I didn't even get a chance to put your overlay up. All right. So, Orthodox Muslim, you got the floor, man.
My name is the Orthodox Muslim. That's what I go by online. Others know me as Libiano. I love making videos. My channel is mainly about refuting Christianity, why Islam is superior in every way that you could imagine. And yeah, been waiting 6 months for this debate, which should have took 2 weeks to really prepare, but 6 months later, we're here, excited. Let's just get right into it.
All right. Yeah, let's get right into it, man. And so, all right, today's topic is Muhammad in the Bible? Mike Jones will argue the negative, Orthodox Muslim will argue the affirmative. And we'll start that with 15-minute opening statements, and that's followed by, I believe, 7-minute. Did we say 7-minute openings? 5-minute rebuttal. Sorry, 15-minute openings, 5-minute rebuttals, and we're gonna have 30-minute cross-examination where both of you will get 15 minutes each to ask questions, and then that's gonna be followed with a 30-minute open dialogue, and then we're gonna have 5-minute closings, and then we have a 30-minute Q&A from the audience. Sounds good?
Sounds perfect. Do you want me to share my screen now?
Yep, you can go ahead and share your screen. Also,
Actually, just before we start, I just want to make sure that your moderator is on YouTube. are not just modding, blocking Muslims out and stuff like that. I'd like this to be respectful and fair. So maybe I could be a future guest on your platform once again. If we could make sure that happens, that'd be great. Let us go ahead
Yeah,
and
for
share my
sure,
screen.
man. For sure. What's fascinating is that I don't see none of my mods in there. I don't see none of them, man. So, all right. Also, keep in mind when you have 1 minute left, you hear this little chime. That let you know you have 1 minute left in your opening, your rebuttal, and your closing. So, with that said, I will start your 15-minute timer as soon as you begin to speak.
All right. Today's debate is about, is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam prophesied in the Bible? That's a big fat yes. And just before I get started right into the prophecies, I want to show the Christian criteria for messianic prophecies that my interlocutor today, that's been away for 6 months somewhere, thinks are good, sufficient prophecies to establish prophethood and messiahship. Now, please, if you are watching, if you are a Christian, I want you to listen to me. I want you to look at the evidence. Okay, I know you call me duck lips and lesbiano and you don't like me because maybe I'm not too nice to your religion sometimes, but really pay attention to the evidence that I provide today and against the typological flimsy garbage that IP is going to bring today. So let's give a couple examples in the Gospel of Matthew. So Matthew, this gospel specifically points out a lot of prophecies in the Old Testament. One of them in Matthew 2:15, he quotes Hosea chapter 11, verse 1. Well, what happens in Hosea chapter 11, verse 1? God recalls his favor upon the Israelites by calling them outside of Egypt and saving them from the Exodus. He says, when Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. But the more they went away from me, the more they sacrificed to idols and sacrificed and worshiped the Baals. Now, as you see, this is not a prophecy, has nothing to do with Jesus, has nothing to do about a 500-year later dying, rising savior, mythological man God who dies on a stick, who goes to Egypt, running away from Herod, has nothing to do with that. But guess what? What does Matthew do? He takes half of the verse, not even the full verse, ladies and gentlemen, half of the verse and says, out of Egypt, I called my son. This is fulfilled by Jesus. Wow, man, what a flimsy This is what they call a prophecy. I'm not going to take too long. I just want to show the hypocrisy being found. If this is sufficient to be a prophecy, then I don't know what to tell you, my friend. You might as well take your shot at today. And he does this over and over again with the young woman will give birth to a son from Isaiah, twisting passages, taking them out of its context. Bethlehem, out of you a ruler over Israel. Micah chapter 5, verse 2. This ruler is supposed to subdue the Assyrians, be a king over Israel. What did Jesus do? He died on a stick. He died on a stick, ladies and gentlemen. Matthew 2:16, Rachel weeps for her children. This is Jeremiah saying that the ancestral mother of Israel is weeping because the Israelites are being oppressed by the Babylonians. But guess what? Matthew somehow puts it about a dying, rising God. Can you guys believe it, ladies and gents? So this is the amount. This is what they consider to be sufficient prophecy. All right. Now, I want to focus on one more before we get into the prophecies. Matthew in 2:23 says that Jesus grew up in Nazareth to fulfill the prophecy that was spoken by the prophets. Out of Egypt I called, or not out of Egypt, that the Messiah will be called the Nazarene. Wow, man. That must be fantastic. There must be a prophecy in the Old Testament that the prophet spoke that he will be called the Nazarene. Wrong. There isn't. So how does IP deal with this? In a video he made 15 years ago, because he's doing this for 15 years and he's still trash. All right. What does he say? He says, well, maybe Matthew's quoting an oral tradition that doesn't exist. Oh, guess what? It sounds like a magical oral tradition, magical Torah. He says, option 2, Nazarene is like another way of saying, I hate you. Oh my God. Wow, man. Wow. What an amazing Nazarene is another way of saying, I hate you. And the third one, which he seems to take himself, is, well, Nazarene sounds similar to branch, which is Netzar in Hebrew. And in Isaiah calls the Messiah that comes from the root of Jesse a branch. So because the word sounds similar, or maybe has a similar or the same root, it must be Jesus. Wow, guys. Similar. Guys, remember this. Similar word means prophecy. Wow. Now, let's see what St. John Chrysostom, who's the golden mouth of commentary, what does he say Oh, the Jews ripped it up. They corrupted it. It's corrupted, guys. Wow, the Bible's corrupted. That's why Nazarene is not there. Wow. They want to accuse us of, and mock us for saying the Bible's corrupted. But St. John Chrysostom says, well, Matthew was quoting a verse. The Jews corrupted it. The evil Jews cut it up in pieces and burned. Anyways, I'm not going to spend too much time. But just to show you the hypocrisy, guys, because I'm going to bury him today. Anyways, what does scholarship say? Scholarship says, as you can see here, Geza Vermes, she says that there is no evidence that Nazarene and Netzar have to do anything with each other, okay? So you could read that. I'm not going to spend time reading it. So as you can see, flimsy, typological, out of context, garbage. I will present real prophecies, real contextual fulfillments, meaningful, and without any typology. And trust me, if you are a Christian and you just hear what I say and open up your heart and your mind, just look at the evidence. And for Muslims, I promise you, you will get goosebumps listening to me. You will get goosebumps listening to me, and your hairs on your arms will stand up. Let's get right into it, okay? I will demonstrate that there's a prophet who comes after 70 AD. He will come to save the Jews from the Roman exile. He will spread universal recognition of the true God, monotheism, and his kingdom will come after the Roman Empire and will subjugate Rome. Now, let's get into Daniel 2:7, and I know he probably expects me to talk about this, but there's no way out of this. Featuring King Silv, the statue. So what is Daniel 2:7 about? Just to sum it up quick, Daniel's a prophet in exile. The Babylonian king at the time, called King Nebuchadnezzar, has a dream, and he wants his dream interpreted. What's the dream? Well, he sees a statue made of 5 different elements. Each body part is an element. Then he sees a stone not cut with human hands come and destroy the statue. And so King Nebuchadnezzar wants his dream interpreted. So who does it? Daniel alayhi salam, the prophet of God. He interprets this prophecy for him. What's the prophecy? There will be 4 successive kingdoms, world empires that come one right after the other. Traditional Jewish and Christian interpretation has always been that it's Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome. These are the 4 kingdoms that come one after the other, destroy each other, and succeed one another as world empires. And Daniel tells us the 2nd kingdom and the 3rd kingdom explicitly in Daniel 8. Isaiah also tells us, and Jeremiah also tells us. Now, let's look at the Babylonian Empire. This is the 1st kingdom that Daniel says, this is the head of gold. This is the kingdom that has all the beasts of the earth under it. Look at it. I want you to see. A lot of people are visual learners. Please pay attention to what I'm saying. Look at the landmass that Babylon has. Now look at the landmass that Medo-Persia had right after Babylon. Look at that landmass. Now Alexander the Great comes, and look at his landmass. He comes and succeeds the Medes and the Persians. Now, who is the 4th kingdom? What is the 4th beast? It is the Roman Empire. And this is the Roman Empire at its greatest extent. Look at that. It's more than triple, if not quadruple the size of these previous kingdoms that Daniel says succeed the earth, rule the earth. Now, the 5th kingdom, according to Daniel, is the kingdom of God. It is the kingdom that comes and crushes the Roman Empire, brings it to an end. Remember, these are the words of Daniel, not my words. Forget Lubiano. Look at what Daniel says. The 5th kingdom will crush Rome. It will be instituted by God himself and will spread. It will become a mountain and fill the whole earth. Now, ladies and gentlemen, take a look at what comes next. What is the kingdom that came and destroyed and subjugated Rome? It is the kingdom of Ishmael, the kingdom of God. Take a look, ladies and gentlemen. Tell me if this is typological. Tell me if this is flimsy. Tell me if this is taking things out of context. Look at the mighty empire of Ishmael. Look at the mighty empire of Ishmael. Let's keep going. A lot of you are visual learners. I have to show you. This is Rome in 630, right here. That's 2 years before the prophet dies. This is Persia in 630, 2 years before the prophet dies. They are world empires that crush everything in front of them, just like the prophet Daniel alayhi salam says. Look at how big Rome is. Look at how big Persia is, and you see that little dot in the middle? You see that little tiny circle in the middle of nowhere? That is the kingdom of Ishmael. What happened 7 years later? Please tell me what happened 7 years later. Here comes the stone that out of nowhere comes, destroys these empires and becomes a world empire and subjugates everybody. Just as Daniel said, what happened 70 years later? Allahu Akbar. The kingdom of Ishmael has absolutely exterminated Rome. Look at Rome, tiny, non-existent. Persia, back to the lobby. Persia is erased. There's no more Persia. The kingdom of Ishmael comes in a span of 70 years. The Muslims control more land in 70 years than the Roman Empire did in 800 years, ladies and gents. If this is not historical fulfillment, I don't know what is. Now, who said this? Is this Muslims saying this? Let's look at what Christians are saying at this time. Guys, don't listen to Lubiano. Look at what the Christians are saying in the letters of Ishuyab III, dated to the year 650, an Eastern Christian ecclesiastical authority. What does he say describing Islam? For also these Arabs, to whom at this time God has given control over the world. Wow, the Arabs have control over the world, according to Christians in the 650 AD. Are we done? No, we're not done. In the Khuzestan Chronicle, which is also a Syriac Christian chronicle from the year 650 AD, what does this Christian say? Then God brought up against them the sons of Ishmael, who were as numerous as sand upon the seashore. Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. These are not Muslims. These are Christians saying this. Their leader was Muhammad. Neither walls, nor gates, nor armor, nor shield withstood them. They took control over the entire Persian Empire. And he says in paragraph 35, and at the aforementioned time when the Arabs had conquered all the lands of the Persians and the Romans, just like Daniel had foretold a few hundred years before. Wow. Let's look what the Khuzestan Chronicle also says. The victory of the sons of Ishmael who overcame and subjugated these kingdoms was from God. Indeed, the victory is his, but God hasn't yet handed Constantinople over to them. Am I spiritualizing anything? Am I telling you it's typology? Am I telling you the Holy Spirit is tickling me? I'm just reading, for God's sake, I'm just reading historical attestation. Who subjugated Rome? The kingdom of Ishmael subjugated Rome. There is no doubt about that. Now, you are going to get goosebumps now. Look at what scholars say. The New World of Islam by Lathrop Stoddard says, the rise of Islam, remember, this is the stone cut from human hands. It comes suddenly and unexplainably destroys the whole statue. The rise of Islam is perhaps the most amazing event in human history, springing from a land and a people alike previously negligible. Islam spread within a century over half of the earth, shattering great empires, overthrowing long-established religions, remolding the souls of the races, and building up a whole new world, the world of Islam. But we're not done. The closer we examine this development, the more extraordinary does it appear. The other great religions won their way slowly, by painful struggle, and finally triumphed with the aid of powerful monarchs converted to the new faith. Christianity had its Constantine. Buddhism had its Asox. Zoroastrianism had its Cyrus, each leading to his chosen cult, the mighty force of secular authority. Not so Islam, arising in a desert land, sparsely inhabited by the nomad race, previously undistinguishable in human annals. Islam sallied forth on its great adventure with the slenderest human backing and against the heaviest of material odds. Yet Islam triumphed with a seemingly miraculous ease. Ladies and gentlemen, that's God right there. That's the stone not cut from human hands. Miraculously, in a couple of generations, saw the fiery crescent born victorious. Man, if this is not fulfillment, what is fulfillment? Let's keep going. The next prophecy will be the kingdom of God in the parables of the banquet and the tenants from Matthew 21 and Matthew 22. I'll just sum it up quickly. Matthew 22, Jesus compares the kingdom of God to a king who prepares a wedding banquet for his son. If you're familiar with biblical exegesis, the king is God and the son, there's two interpretations, either Jesus or mankind. He prepares the wedding banquet for his son. He sends his servants to those who had been invited, telling them, come to the kingdom of God. Come to the kingdom of God. But they reject, they deny, they kill God's prophets. They mistreat God's prophets. So what does God do? He gets angry. He executes punishment. The rest sees his servants mistreated them and killed them. The king was enraged. He sent his army, destroyed those murderers, and burnt down their city. I have one more minute, right? Okay, I guess that's a yes. So anyways, this happens after 70 AD. Why? Because according to the consensus of traditional critical scholars, when God executes punishment in 70 AD, and then the invitation to the Gentiles happens after 70 AD. So this is the timeline. I'm not going to go through it, but this is summing up everything I said. Am I cherry picking? No, I'm not cherry picking, because when it comes to historical reports, they can't be accepted without any reasonable grounds. I accept this parable because it's independently attested and it meets the criteria of dissimilarity, which are two criteria of authenticity. Therefore, I'm locally justified in accepting this parable and nothing else. Then we have Psalm 74, which describes the Roman exile and God coming to save the Jews from the Roman exile, which Malachi 3 and Isaiah 40 also say that God will send a messenger of the covenant to save the Jews from the Roman exile. Guess who? The Muslims. Moshe Gil says in his book, The History of Palestine, that the 10th century Jewish Karaite Rabbi Salman bin Rahim says,
all right, that's time right there.
Quick? Can I read it quick?
No, that's time.
All right,
time expired. Sorry about that.
Sure, no
Time's
problem.
expired. All right. Thank you. Mike, you're up for your 15-minute opening statement, and I will start your time as soon as you begin to speak.
I got to put slides up.
Okay, yeah, go to, there's at the bottom of the screen, you see icons there. There's a computer little base. There you go. You already got it.
There we
go. Before
All
I
right.
said anything. All right. If you want to put it in presentation mode, it may be bigger so people can see a lot better, but
yeah, I gotta. It kind of get weird, so I'm just gonna stick with this. So we should be okay. Though.
All right, that's fine.
So let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready. I'll start your time as soon as you begin to speak.
All right, thank you, Marlon. I have a short opening statement, and then I'm going to use the rest of my time as a rebuttal. To be clear, I'm not defending Christianity today, because remember, that's not the debate topic my opponent wanted. It's odd he spent over 5 minutes not even on the topic. Christianity could be false for the purposes of this debate, and that wouldn't make Islam true. So he needs to defend the claim Muhammad is in the Bible, regardless of the true status of Christianity. I hope he can stay on topic, unlike what he did for a third of his opening statement. For those confused as to why Muslims are desperate to find their prophet in books they claim are corrupted, let me explain. Surah 7 says that they can find the description of Muhammad in the Torah and the Gospel, and Surah 61 says Jesus spoke of a messenger after him whose name will be Ahmed. So the Quran says Muslims can find prophecies of their Muhammad in the Torah and Gospel, which means they can't look at this without blatant Islamic bias. They need him to be in there because the Quran says he is in there. But in this debate, we can't start with the Quran, assume it's true, and then force biblical data to fit Islamic conclusions. We need to use biblical texts alone and see if they actually predict an important prophet after Jesus who will deliver divine revelations. So if they cannot find a description of their prophet in our Bible, then we must conclude Islam is false. Libiano did not actually present any of that, surprisingly. He relied on very few passages, and so he did not show Jesus speaking of someone named Ahmed, and he did not show a description of Muhammad in the Torah or the Gospel. But I want to point out that even if my opponent is successful, he will only end up showing Islam as practiced by Muslims today is false. Because by using our book as their authority to prove Islam is true, you create a dilemma I'm calling the biblical prophet dilemma. Either Muhammad is in our scriptures or he is not. The first one is pretty simple. Surah 7 and 61 say we can find a description of him in our Torah and Gospel. If we cannot find him in there, then Islam is false. And so far, we've not seen anything like that. But if we find predictions of some future prophet in there, then that means our scriptures accurately predict the future, are divine revelations from God. But they teach a completely different theology and contradictory history to what we find in the Quran. It is important to remember biblical descriptions are not neutral. If they are found in the biblical text, they are theologically indexed and cannot be divorced from their context or theology. So unless the Bible were incredibly specific and says a future prophet will come to fix our corrupted scriptures, Muslims cannot use this argument because they're relying on a book that predicts a prophet in line with what the Bible teaches. For example, the Bible says Jesus was crucified, resurrected to atone for sins. The Quran says Jesus wasn't crucified and didn't teach atonement. The Bible says Jesus is fully God. The Quran says he was a mere prophet. The Bible says the covenant will come through Isaac and not through Ishmael at all, and there are many other differences. But if the Bible is divine revelation from God and accurately predicts the coming of another prophet, then he either hasn't come yet, and that first one was a satanic impostor, or the prophet did come, it really was Muhammad, but the Quran as we have it today must have been thoroughly corrupted by Muslims after his death so that it no longer matches the prior scriptures. Because again, the biblical texts for this debate are established as our authority with accurate prophecies from God. But there's no getting around the fact that they completely contradict the Quran in multiple ways. So either way, Islam is false. If my opponent is successful in showing the Bible does predict a future prophet, that will just mean Islam is false. Now, I expect he will try to say the Bible's been corrupted, like his main source does, but we can still find accurate prophecies of Muhammad in there, just in the non-corrupted parts. This doesn't work because we just need to ask, how do we know which parts are corrupted and which have not been? He'll have to say it's the parts that just so happen to agree with Islam, but that will be arguing in a circle. Islam is true, so we can use the Quran to know which parts of the Bible are accurate, and those parts include predictions of Muhammad, and we use those to show Islam is true. This is obviously circular. It is fallacious, and so it doesn't establish the truth of Islam. So I expect my opponent will complain about this, about me pointing out his argument is circular, but the reality is if he tries this, he would be admitting defeat. He may also try to avoid this by bringing up John Chrysostom or Justin Martyr like he kind of did, claiming they're doing something similar, which is false. They're actually doing the exact opposite of what he is doing, but either way, that would be a tu-quoque fallacy. He may try to bring up passages like Jude 1, which may quote the book of Enoch, but that won't be a valid comparison because Jude quoting Enoch does not entail that Jude believed Enoch was scripture. He quoted it to teach Christians to persevere in the faith. There is nothing wrong with quoting another work for teaching purposes only. Jude is only doing that, and he's not using it to establish the truth of his worldview. Whereas my opponent is trying to use the Bible to establish the truth of his religion, which he cannot do if the Bible contradicts his religion. Again, the biblical prophecies are theologically indexed. You cannot divorce them from their context by using the Quran as your criterion, because that would be assuming the truth of the Quran to prove the truth of the Quran. Muslims should understand where I'm coming from because they reject Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, who claimed that Muhammad predicted his coming. But they're not going to just go on his mere claims and his citations of Quran verses and hadith that he used to support himself. Muslims rightly bring up that his claims contradict their theology and that you can't cherry pick the Quran and use the works of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad to interpret them, which is the same thing I'm pointing out today. Again, if my opponent wants to argue for the truth of Islam from the Bible, he can only use the Bible and its prophecies, but those are theologically indexed. Those are only two options now. Future prophet is in there or he is not. If he's not in there, then Islam is false. But if it does predict the coming of another prophet, then Islam must be false. That real prophet has not come yet, or he did and it was a Trinitarian Christians that early Muslims corrupted, which hypothetically would kind of make sense because the Quran claims to confirm the prior scriptures. But that's a topic for another time. So no matter what he presents here today, we must conclude Islam is false. He is in a no-win situation. In fact, the rest of what we do is now trivial because of this dilemma. But regardless of this fact, what I'm going to do now with the rest of my time is at least show why it's absolute nonsense to suggest that Muhammad is in the Bible. So let's start with some basics here. The two passages he used was Daniel 2 and Matthew, parables in Matthew 21 and 22. Let's start with Daniel here, okay? So scholars are actually divided on how to interpret Daniel 2. Most scholars say that most modern scholars say the statue is Babylon, the Medes, the Persians, and then Greece, and others, more traditional, say Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome. So that needs to be addressed as well. It's actually fine for Christians, regardless of what either one we take. Daniel, let's talk a little bit about this. He claimed that Islam ended the Roman Empire, but he didn't actually justify that. All he said was around 700 AD, but Rome outlasted that. I suspect he's going to come back and he's going to say, yeah, but the Ottomans came in and ended the Roman Empire in 1453. Well, he needs to actually justify that. I'm going to challenge him on that. I'm not convinced of that, actually. He needs to define what he means by the Roman Empire and what metric he is using to determine the end of the Roman Empire. So what ended in 1453 or 700, as we saw on the screen, that shows it's the end of the Roman Empire because it definitely outlasted 700. And I will argue that no matter what metric he uses, he'll accidentally admit the Roman Empire ended before 1453 or after and by another group. So he needs to actually defend that claim, not me. Let's talk a little bit about what Daniel says. So Daniel actually says this kingdom, the stone thrown from heaven, is supposed to last forever, using the Hebrew word olam. Now, in past debates, Libiano has said, well, you can just refer to long periods of time. But let's talk a little bit about what the word olam means. It doesn't mean eternity or forever, despite the way it's often translated. Scholars like Sacha Stern have pointed out the actual meaning of the word is permanent. It means permanent, which makes sense because when you'll see it used in, for example, the Torah, it'll say that there are certain things like the Levitical priests had to do olam, forever. But really it just means permanent. They're permanent stipulations of the Mosaic covenant. Sometimes punishments are doled out, like in Jeremiah, and there are permanent aspects of that punishment, for example. So that's what it means. It means a permanent kingdom. And context helps us determine how it's used. Well, in Daniel 2, it's completely unstipulated. It's just a permanent kingdom, which suggests it's supposed to last forever. He may appeal to the Magi, referring to King Nebuchadnezzar, saying, "Oh, king, live forever," but they're not a reliable source. These are like the bad guys of this story. So we don't go to them to better interpret Daniel. So that's also important. He also needs to justify that the stone is just another earthly kingdom. So, for example, John Walton and Audrey Buster say in their recent commentary on Daniel, as scholars identify, the text represents a conundrum. If each successive kingdom has replaced the previous kingdom, how can the kingdom of God destroy them all? Furthermore, why does each successive kingdom not destroy the preceding layer? See, the statue already sets up the context of earthly kingdoms destroying each other, represented by a new layer. But the stone is doing something entirely different. It's not like the earthly kingdoms. It's entirely different. And it's that needs to be addressed as well. For example, Eugene Carpenter in the Cornerstone Biblical Commentary says, this kingdom and its related world systems contains the seed of its own demise. A blow to the feet of the image would place the entire structure in danger. The huge image collapsed not only by the blow to its feet, but because it ultimately had no solid foundation upon which to rest. It produced division within itself, its own foundation succumbed, crumbled, and collapsed. Attempts within the world system to create unity fail. It is destined for certain annihilation. It is no accident that the image was attacked at the feet and not its head. In other words, he is pointing out that the stone is destroying the entire system of empires coming and destroying each other. John Walton and Aubrey Buster point this out as well in their commentary on Daniel. So it's not going to be just another earthly kingdom. If that was the case, it would just set up another layer in the statue. This is something entirely different, which is why commentators have noted it better makes sense as a spiritual kingdom, not an earthly kingdom, and it needs to last forever. The Islamic Caliphate did not last forever, therefore it cannot fulfill that. Also, he says that the stone, he's going to try to say the stone has to come after the division. Doesn't actually say it has to come after the division. That needs to be pointed out as well. So Audrey Buster and John Walton point out that it's actually using the word plural there for kings, and it could refer to any of the kings that come after Nebuchadnezzar. So that's important as well. Now, he also brought up Matthew, these parables. Let's be clear about these parables in Matthew. They're not saying what he seems to be what he thinks they're saying. Parables are just approximations. For example, later in Matthew, Jesus gives a parable of himself. He says it's like a king going on a long journey. He didn't actually go on a long journey. So these are approximations. Now, this is about Islam. We have a problem. He has a hyper literal reading of these parables. Okay, if we're going to have a hyper literal reading of these parables, they say that God only sent prophets twice prior to the coming of the Son and Heir. Twice. Now, that contradicts the Islamic history because prophets were sent multiple times. So if we have to take this strictly hyper literal, the chronology of it, it would not fit with Islam at that. And remember, parables are approximations. We don't have to agree. The chronology has to be literally unfolding this way. And plus, it speaks as the invite to the Gentiles happening right after the destruction of Jerusalem, not 600 years later. Also, God didn't send his army to destroy Jerusalem. He allowed Rome to destroy it. So unless he wants to say the Roman army was God's army, that's not going to work as well with his hyper literal reading. So that needs to be kept in mind as well. What else did he say? He brought up the criterion of dissimilarity to help support that. That's great. But if you're going to use parables, you're going to use criteria like that, okay, well then historians are going to note the most likely thing that happened was that Jesus was crucified and died. That fits all of the historical criteria in terms of what's going on there. So if we're going to use historical criteria, great, but you're going to have to accept basic Christian doctrines, like the idea that Jesus was crucified and died, which I don't think he's going to be willing to do. So we can't pick and choose when historical criteria, like the criterion of dissimilarity, apply. That's not going to work. So as I said, he didn't really mention much else beyond that. He cited Christians and authors at the time of the Arab conquest. Irrelevant, we're talking about Muhammad and the Bible, and so far we've not seen Surah 7:157 or Surah 61:6 met. Therefore, I guess Islam is just not making, or the Quran is not making an accurate claim there when it says that Muhammad is in there, and we can find his description. So we need to see actual evidence for that. It's a shame he wasted a third of his opening statement not actually presenting that. But yeah, I mean, so far we've seen no evidence. And by the way, the parables in Matthew and Daniel don't mention a future prophet. So he's inserting that in there. I thought this was about Muhammad in the Bible. But we do need to get more into what's going on in Daniel too, because again, I need to know what metric he is using to determine the end of the Roman Empire. Was there a line of kings that ended? Was there no more Caesars of Rome reigning in Constantinople? What are you using to define the end of the Roman Empire, and how do you know that it was Muslims that ended it? There's a lot of historical problems there we're going to have to get into. He also brought up Assam, but he didn't have much time to go over that, so I will let him try to defend that later. It's also important to remember two final things. Libiano needs to present a clear methodology for what he's doing. He needs to explain every part of each passage he is using to predict Muhammad, and he cannot arbitrarily say something is metaphorical or literal like he's done in the past. Okay, so we need to know what is going on, why Islam literally fulfills these things. Second, he needs to demonstrate why any of his interpretations are more than merely possible readings. They need to be shown to be the most probable. And he has not done that thus far. So, yeah, I'll yield the rest of my time. I'd like to hear what he has to say in his rebuttal, and then we can get into the cross-examination.
All right. Thank you so much for the opening statement, guys. All right, so we are transitioning to our rebuttal rounds, and our rebuttal rounds are 5-minute rebuttals. And so Liviano, I will start your 5-minute time. Let me set this thing, make sure it's right here. All right, I will start your 5-minute timer as soon as you begin to speak. I think you might be muted.
Sorry about that. So instead of getting an opening an opening section, I got a bunch of voice cracks and no evidence and just yapping about nothing, basically. All right. So I'm going to respond to everything he said, and I cannot wait till we get to the cross exam where I bury you and your false god. So check this out. He runs away from Christianity. He says, well, I'm not here to defend Christianity, so I'm going to be a goofy, liberal, secular, just so you don't prove that me as a Christian, you're going to dominate me, because your Islamic interpretation is more likely from the text. Thank you very much. You're a goofball, man. He says, didn't show Muhammad, he didn't show that Jesus said Ahmed will come. Well, wait until the cross exam where I'm going to make you stutter, okay? You just wait, but that's not the debate topic, remember? As long as I show the Prophet Muhammad in the Bible, I don't need to show anything else. So you appealing to specific instances where I'm supposed to show that Jesus spoke about Muhammad, that's not a debate topic. You can accept that debate topic with Dean so he could further crucify you after I do. Then he says, oh, the dilemma. Every day you come up with a dilemma, but it's nothing. You're just speaking, man. You're just here. You're just participating. So he says, either he's there and Islam is false, or either he's not there and Islam is false. Well, why? Because if he's there, then our scripture is divinely revealed. Holy fat non sequitur. Please give me the inference for that, the formal argument for that. And this time, give me an inference rule. You're supposed to have a master's degree in philosophy, yet you don't know what an inference rule is. Don't think we forgot about that. So please tell me how that follows. Fat non sequitur. Thank you very much. Then he says, yaps about Quran confirming the Bible. I didn't know we're talking about the Islamic dilemma today, but I'm more than happy to belt you on the Islamic dilemma. Just let me know, man. If you want to use your time in the cross exam, talk about Islamic dilemma, let me know. Then he says, oh, in the Bible, the covenant will come from Jacob. No, it doesn't. Genesis 17 gives two covenants, one specifically for Isaac and one universal covenant under Abraham. John the Baptist says in the beginning of Matthew that if the Jews keep disobeying, keep killing the prophets, God will raise up other children of Abraham from these very stones. Thank you very much. And there's also a covenantal shift. According to the early Christians, they say it's the church that replaced Israelites' promises. We say that it's the children of Ishmael who replaced the covenant, as Jesus himself in Matthew 21 says. Thank you very much. He says, well, how do we know which parts are corrupted? That's actually a decent question. I'm going to answer you that. Well, Libiano, you're quoting this prophecy and that prophecy, but how are you justified in saying this is not corrupted and this is not? Well, very good question. I'll tell you how I'm justified. Because I have reason to think that this is externally verifiable through supernatural fulfillment. Therefore, I am locally justified in thinking that this goes back to a prophet, that this tradition has divine revelation. But I am not justified in taking everything in the Bible, because not everything is externally verifiable. A prophecy, because it is divine in its origin, in its very nature, can be externally verifiable. So if I could verify a fulfillment that corroborates historical events, therefore I'm locally justified. Thank you very much. You're buried. What else? Oh yeah, by the way, he says, oh, well, Enoch quoting it doesn't mean Enoch thinks it's scripture. Hey, buddy, Enoch says it's a prophecy. Did you forget that one? Enoch says that this is Jude says this is a prophecy from Enoch. And he doesn't say it's from the book attributed to Enoch, the book of Enoch. He says that Enoch, the seventh from Adam, says. So he attributes it to Enoch. Thank you very much. You're destroyed. Then he says, oh, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, Punjabi Jesus. Hey, well, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, he confirmed that the Quran is preserved and the Sunnah is preserved. This is not analogous. There's a symmetry breaker. Why? Because I don't affirm that your Bible is preserved, and I could demonstrate that from the Quran. If you let me, I'm not going to have time to respond to everything. Unfortunately, whatever, man. I'll just go. He wants to take a liberal scholarly interpretation of Daniel. I'm going to crucify him on that when I have the time. He says, can you guys believe he said Islam didn't end Rome? Ladies and gentlemen, just quit. This guy is so desperate that he wants to, I'm not convinced that Islam ended Rome. The Christians are embarrassed. Embarrassed. This guy wants to say Islam didn't end Rome, ladies and gents. Wow, I can't wait to talk about that, man. Well, how did Rome end? How do you determine that? He wants to be a sophist today. Okay, just wait until the cross-exam and watch what I do to you. He says that the Hebrew in Daniel is olam. It's not in Hebrew, stupid. It's in Aramaic. You see, this guy doesn't even know the text. He doesn't even know that Daniel, the portion we're speaking about, is in Aramaic. It's not olam, it's alam. Okay,
that's time right there.
I'll get to you next time, man. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. All right, IP, Mike Jones, you're in the seat again for your 5-minute rebuttal. And as before, I will start
real quick. It's I'm just seeing my slides. Have you taken them down?
No, you should be able to take them down.
I thought I did. It's just
there you go.
Oh, there we go.
Now
okay.
You're there.
Perfect.
There you go.
Yeah, perfect.
All right,
okay.
So I'll start your time as soon as you begin to speak.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, so he said I gave no evidence. Again, he's the one who has the positive claim here. He needs to present evidence. And again, he still has not shown how Surah 7:157 or 61:6 is correct. So I guess we conclude Islam is false. He says I ran away from Christianity. Bro, this is the topic you wanted. Debate the topic. Stop running from the topic, okay? He said, okay, so he just laughed at the dilemma I gave him. He didn't even really try to address it. No, you need to actually address it. Why are you using books you say are corrupted to show your supposed prophet? And notice I said in my opening statement, you need to show your Muhammad, your prophet, okay? Because any prophet that our book is going to predict is going to be a prophet of our religion in line with our books. You need to actually show that. You just can't dismiss it. He said Genesis 17 gives a covenant to Ishmael, I think is what he was going for. Verse 21 completely debunks that. It says very clear the covenant's going to go through Isaac. Ishmael's only under the covenant through Abraham, in that he gets circumcised as part of Abraham's household. But so do all the servants. They don't have covenants either. The covenant is explicitly going through Isaac there. That doesn't work. Not sure what he was getting at with that. Real quick, he laughed at my, challenged him on Rome. Notice he didn't actually address the point. He still needs to give me a definable metric on how he knows. So don't just try to dismiss that with rhetoric. I know you were on TikTok live saying that 50% of debates are more rhetoric, but you're not going to get away with this with rhetoric. So don't think you can just dismiss it with confidence. You need to actually show that Rome was ended by Islam, because there's a lot of problems with that, which we're going to get into there. He mentioned Jude saying it was a prophecy. Again, you missed the whole point about Jude. Jude is not using that to establish the truth of his worldview. And you should also show that Jude is quoting Enoch, because there are scholars that do debate that. So you need to actually deal with that. So again, we still haven't actually seen anything. He didn't really address anything more on Matthew. He didn't really address anything more on Daniel. He needs to actually get into it. And by the way, the Aramaic word is being borrowed from the Hebrew. That's why they're very similar. Not sure why you thought that was a gotcha moment. He said that he doesn't need to address the dilemma because if he can show that the prophecies have been fulfilled and met, then they actually work. Well, no, you've not actually done that, first of all. And again, you actually have to show specific prophecies. They need to be very specific if that's what they're going to be. Like this guy's going to come and we have prophecies in our book that some guy's going to come and fix corrupted scriptures and his name is going to be Muhammad. We don't have anything specific. These are just vague associations you're running with. So you actually need to deal with the main topic here. Stop trying to pivot towards Christianity. Stop trying to laugh away with your nervous laugh there. The issue about Rome, because I'm curious if you actually know the real history there. How do you know Rome ended by the Muslims in 1453? What metric are you using? I'm very curious. I've heard you say that, but I don't think I've ever seen you actually defend that well. But of course, no one has really brought it up with you. That's why I'm going to bring it up today. So we need to actually get into this. He didn't address my point about Daniel, the stone being different than the successive kingdoms. Because again, the successive kingdoms in the statue of Daniel represent earthly kingdoms destroying one after another. The stone is not doing that. So it can't be just another earthly kingdom that comes and then eventually disappears like the caliphate has been abolished. So that needs to be addressed as well. And again, it needs to be a permanent kingdom. Actually address it. Show, because it's completely unstipulated in Daniel 2. So we need to actually show that, not just assume it. So yeah, again, not much there to address. We still have not seen how Surah 7:157 and Surah 61:6 are answered in the Bible. So I guess those verses in the Quran are wrong at this point. And again, I still want to see how he knows Islam ended Rome. So I'm happy to go to the cross-examination now.
Thank you so much for the rebuttals, the openings and the rebuttals, guys. So yeah, we are definitely going to get into the cross-examination now. So I must warn you guys, I'm gonna be pretty strict with this cross-examination, man. I will shut down a cross-examination if I feel that it's not going accurate, if I feel you guys are arguing, bickering, not answering questions, ad hominem and so forth. I will shut it down. I have no problem with doing that. So let's make sure we stay on cue, focus, and answer the questions that are asked of you. So I don't have to step in. I really want a cordial conversation because everybody else wanted as well. So with that said, this first portion of cross-examination will be a total of 30 minutes, 15 minutes each to ask questions. Make sure it's a question, answer. And once again, no ad hominems, man. No disrespect talk to none of you guys. All right, let's keep it straight and narrow. And then we'll follow that up with a 30-minute open discussion. You guys will be able to hash out lingering questions and issues. All right. And so with that said, Orthodox Muslim, you're up first for your 15-minute cross-ex, and I will start your time as soon as you begin to ask your first question.
Awesome. Is the Son of Man the most glorified?
Most glorified? What do you mean by that?
Can we describe the Son of Man as the most glorified human figure?
Sure. Yeah. What verse are you referring to? I need to know what specifically verses you're bringing up.
That's all I just, from the cumulative case that Jesus makes in the Gospels about the Son of Man, he's the most glorified. Awesome. Now, according to German scholarship, according to Adela Collins, E.P. Sanders, Bart Ehrman, and Rudolf Bultmann, did Jesus speak of the Son of Man as a distinct figure from himself, coming, sitting on the right hand of God?
According to those scholars, but not according to Mark.
Okay, according to that scholarship, did Jesus speak of the Son of Man as a distinct future figure who will sit on the right hand of God and bring God's kingdom?
As I said, according to those scholars, but not according to the Gospel of Mark, as Arminian admits.
All right, so that's a yes. Beautiful. So that's the scholarly position of those scholars. Beautiful.
It's one,
now, what does Ahmed mean in Arabic?
Most praised one, I believe.
Most glorified. So you mean to tell me that in scholarship, Jesus spoke about somebody who's Ahmed, the most glorified, as a distinct figure who will come in the future distinct from himself?
This is about Muhammad in the Bible, not what these scholars say.
Can you answer that? According to these scholars, did Jesus speak about Ahmed, distinct Son of Man figure who will come in the future sitting on the right hand of God?
No, they did not speak about Ahmed. They spoke about the Son of Man.
Did you say the Son of Man is the most glorified?
He is the most glorified in the Gospels. Yeah.
Does Ahmed mean most glorified?
If you say so.
Thank you very much. That's the debate, ladies and gentlemen. IB says that Ahmed will come according to this scholarship. Thank you very much.
All right, are you gonna let me actually respond now instead of letting you actually let me respond? Because Ehrman says in his book when Jesus became, you gonna let me respond now? Okay.
Let's-
Ehrman
What?
says in his debate book, "When did Jesus become God?" I think you need to understand that for Mark himself, the author of this gospel, Jesus is the Son of Man. Jesus is coming back in glory. Those scholars you're citing are saying that the historical Jesus said the Son of Man was distinct, but that's not what is presented in the gospel. The debate topic is Muhammad in the Bible, not
Yeah.
is Muhammad in the works of Bart Ehrman. So can you stay on topic, please?
Yeah, that's a non sequitur, but I'm gonna deal with that because we don't have a lot of time. All right.
Okay.
So in John 41, does Jesus fulfill that?
John 41.
The one who ate my bread will turn against me. Did Jesus fulfill John 41 verse 9? The one who ate my bread will turn against me, according to John 12.
There is no John 41.
Sorry,
verse 9. What are you
Psalm
talking
41,
about?
Psalm 41, and John 12. Psalm 41. My bad.
So Psalm 41.
Yeah.
The
The one who ate my bread
sure.
will turn against me. Typologically.
In a
okay?
typological
Does
sense.
he,
Yeah.
Does he fulfill the context?
He fulfills that typological aspect.
I didn't ask that. Does he fulfill the context?
I don't know.
He doesn't feel okay. Well, let me help you. In verse 4, the same speaker says, "Lord, forgive me, for I have sinned against you." Does he fulfill that?
Well, no, because he didn't sin.
Oh, okay. So Jesus fulfills a verse out of context?
I know he fulfills stuff typologically. So it's you're
Okay, is
assuming
that out
the
of
New
context?
Testament and
Is,
reading it
is
into
that
the Old
out of
Testament.
context? Is that out of context though?
What is out of context? This doesn't make any sense.
Does Jesus only fulfill one verse out of the context?
Yes, because it's a typology. Yeah.
Okay, so you could fulfill a prophecy out of context, right?
Typologically, yeah.
Beautiful. Now, the prophecy you make fun of in Isaiah 29, where the book is given to one who cannot read, saying, "Read this," he will say, "I cannot read." The context doesn't allow for the Prophet Muhammad. But can the Prophet Muhammad fulfill that typologically? Does he fulfill that typologically?
If you're
Just
going to
that one
use
verse?
Islam typology, sure, but that's assuming Islam and then reading it into the
all right.
Bible. That's circular.
So the Prophet Muhammad fulfills Isaiah 29 typologically, and I'm justified in thinking that as a Muslim, right?
Within Islamic theology, sure.
Thank you very much. So he concedes
All
that the
right,
Prophet
fine, yes.
Muhammad fulfills typology. Nice. All
Yeah,
right.
if you're going to assume Islam and then
so
use
far.
that to read the Bible, sure, but
All
that's
right.
circular. If you want to do
All right,
that, you want to admit
beautiful.
it's circular, go for it.
Where is the prophecy that Jesus will be called the Nazarene?
So it's a typological fulfillment, I believe, in Isaiah 11.
Isaiah 11, right? Do Netzar and Nazarene, are they the same thing or are they two different words?
They're two different words, sure.
They're two different words. Okay, and he only
Yeah, it's
fulfills that
typology.
because it's a play on words, right? And it sounds the
Yeah,
similar.
it's play on words. Matthew liked to do that.
Okay,
Jews at the time
okay.
liked to do that, yeah.
All right, so let's go to the same prophecy you always make fun of. Songs of Solomon, it says Muhammadim or Mahmadim. Does that sound similar to Muhammad?
It's phonetically, sure, whatever.
Okay, so then that's a typological fulfillment as well, right?
If you're going to assume Islamic theology
Thank
and then
you
read
very
that
much.
into the Old Testament, then yeah, but that's
Awesome.
circular. That's what that
Thank you.
is by definition,
so-
dude.
So Matthew's being circular, right?
Yeah, that's actually what happens.
Matthew-
Yeah, that happens.
Matthew's circular, ladies and gentlemen. All right, fantastic.
Sure,
is the
yeah.
kingdom of God is the kingdom of God monotheistic?
Sure, yeah.
Under classical logic, are there three gods?
Depends on how you formulate it. And that has nothing to do with the topic.
Yeah, it does. You said the kingdom of God is monotheistic, so Daniel's kingdom is supposed to be monotheistic. Under classical
Okay.
logic, if we counted the same way we count everything else, are there three gods?
Depends on how you're defining identity. It depends. And this
So
again
in-
has nothing to do with
under-
Muhammad.
I said under absolute identity, are there three gods?
Define absolute identity. Give me a rigorous
The cla-
definition because that's not a
The class
what? Go ahead.
under classical identity, are there three gods? Leibniz's
Again,
law.
you need to
Leibniz-
define.
I just told you,
Give me a
Leib-
rigor.
Leibniz's law. Under Leibniz's law, are there three gods?
It's irrelevant to the topic. This is not Tawhid
No,
versus
you're-
Trinity.
are
So
you
can you
gonna-
actually keep on
No,
topic?
under Leibniz. I'm gonna ask again. Under Leibniz's law,
You
are
can
there
ask
three
me
gods?
again, but it doesn't have anything to do with the topic.
So you're not gonna answer? Okay.
No,
sure.
it's not
Did
about
you-
the topic.
All right,
Show me
did
Muhammad's
you-
in the
did you-
Bible. What is
all
this?
right,
What are you
beautiful.
doing?
All right, beautiful. No, it is on topic because the kingdom of God is supposed to be monotheistic. Did you admit in a clip that if we counted using the CCM under classical logic and the primitive notion of identity, classical identity, would there be three little g gods? You admitted that, right?
No, because that's taking things out of context. That was according to how he was defining identity. Can you
Okay,
debate the
under-
topic and not try to bring up past things?
So under that, there are three gods, right? Under that regimentation of identity, there's three gods, right?
Depends on how you define it. I don't even remember the
Okay, and
conversation. It was
It depends,
like a year
guys. So
ago.
So there's a sense in which there's three gods. Thank you so much, Michael Jones.
You can define identity in
I-
such a
I
way that it
appreciate-
just doesn't
there's
make
the
sense.
debate,
And then
guys.
when you
The
define
kingdom of God-
identity in
the
the
kingdom-
let me answer my question.
The kingdom of God
Sorry,
is three gods.
He doesn't want me to
guys,
answer because he
guys,
knows I'm
guys,
going to show
guys,
this is
guys,
nonsense.
guys.
All right.
Let me pause the time. It's extremely difficult to hear the responses to these questions when
Mhm.
I understand, you got your energy going and stuff. Let's try to allow them to answer the questions, all right?
All right. Beautiful. The next question is, according to our 7th century Syriac texts, who subjugated and defeated Rome?
7th century Syriac texts. I don't know.
Yes,
I've not read
the
them.
the Khuzestan Chronicle. It's a Christian chronicle, Syriac Christian chronicle,
Mhm.
and the letters of Ushayab III, which I showed on my presentation. According to what I read, who destroyed and subjugated Rome?
Well, they incorrectly would say the caliphate. Then they would incorrectly say that.
All right,
Because Rome still existed
all right.
after that.
All right, Muslims destroyed Rome. Beautiful. According to modern scholarship
Sure.
and historians, who destroyed Rome?
Depends on who you're talking to.
Do you have any scholar who says that Rome wasn't destroyed in 1453?
Yeah. Edward J. Watt says it was destroyed in 1204 in his recent book from last year, The Romans.
Edward who?
Edward J. Watts, his
Yeah,
book, The
under what-
Romans. It's up-to-date
on-
scholarship.
On what grounds?
Do you know what happened in 1204, for example, is when the Latin Crusaders came in and they destroyed Constantinople, sacked it,
Mhm.
set up the Latin Empire, and then Rome split into distinct factions. You had the Despotate of Trebizond, you had the Empire of Nicaea, the Empire of Trebizond, and even at the time, Constantine Lascaris said that this was basically the end of the Roman Empire. So it split into these distinct factions.
Oh, beautiful. According to Daniel himself, splitting into fractions, does it make you a different kingdom?
No, not necessarily, no.
Oh, beautiful. So Rome wasn't finished. Thank you very much. So under Daniel's view, who destroyed Rome?
Well, then no one has yet, because when the Western Empire split it, they split in all these different
one has?
kingdoms and they just existed.
Mike, does Rome
According to
still
Daniel,
exist,
then yeah, they still exist.
Mike,
based
does
on what
Rome
you
still
just said,
exist? What did
as
I
these
say,
distinct
Mike?
kingdoms that came. Are you gonna let me
So-
answer?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Based on that, if splitting into different smaller kingdoms means it's
Mhm.
still Rome, then by that logic, the kingdoms that came out of the Western Roman Empire are still Rome. So, okay, sure.
Yeah.
They're still
So
Rome, according to
splitting-
Daniel, then.
Yeah, splitting into smaller kingdoms was still attributed to the kingdom before that they are collectively a part of, according to Daniel. So, for example, how does Daniel consider that Babylon was destroyed?
I believe
How was
by the
Babylon
Medes
destroyed?
and Persians.
Yeah,
By the
but-
Medes and the Persians.
What's the metric? How was Babylon destroyed?
The Medes and the Persians came in, conquered the whole land, and set up their own
Oh,
empire.
conquering the whole land means you destroyed? Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Did the Muslims conquer the whole land of Rome?
No, no, they did not.
The Muslims didn't conquer the Eastern Empire and that where Rome had no more land?
Oh, they didn't conquer the western parts. No.
Wait, you just said that Eastern Rome lost at its capital in 1453, right? Did they have any more land?
Well, yeah, actually they did. Because when the Ottomans came in, they didn't claim to end the Roman Empire. They claimed to just inherit the Roman Empire. And George of Trebizond said that Mehmed II was the real Roman
that
Empire.
Has nothing to do with that has nothing to do with. Are you
Yeah, it
saying
does.
are you saying that the Ottomans were Rome?
They claim to be, yeah.
The Ottoman Empire is the Roman Empire?
You can laugh at it and make fun of it all you want. That's
Wow,
what they
guys.
claim. They called
The
themselves
Ottoman-
Kaisers e Rum.
Ottoman
They called themselves
Empire
Kaisers
is
e
the
Rum.
Roman Empire, ladies and gentlemen, man.
Do you want, let me read a
that's-
quote here. Okay, so this is
that's
from
crazy.
Crick Wickham of
No, you're
medieval
not here
Europe.
to read quotes. You're
No.
here to answer questions.
All right, I'm just
That's-
saying the Ottomans did not claim
All
to
right,
end the Roman
so-
Empire. They claimed to become it. That's important.
They became Rome, right? Okay, Ottomans are Rome.
That's what
okay,
they claimed, yeah.
That's fine. Let's read this for
It's
you.
different
here,
than the
and then
Persians
ask
and the
you-
Medes and the
let's-
Macedonians. for example.
No worries, man. No worries. Here, where is?
Okay.
Let's read this for you. Here we go.
All right.
So, Edward Gibbons, let's see what he says. He says, from an humble origin, the Ottomans arose, the scourge and the terror of Christendom. Constantinople was besieged and taken by Muhammad II, and its triumph annihilates the remnant, the image, the title of the Roman Empire in the East. What is Edwin Gibbons here? Is he saying that Rome was destroyed by the Muslims?
He's an extremely outdated historian, possibly, but he's
Outdated.
inaccurate. Yeah, very
Okay,
outdated.
so then according to this scholarship, Islam fulfills Daniel, right?
Well, no, because he said that Rome really fell in 476, and that was the Byzantine Empire.
Yeah, he says the remnant of Rome in the east, and according to Daniel, a remnant of an empire is the same empire. So answer the question. According to this scholarship, does Islam fulfill Daniel?
No, because the remnants were still in the west, and they had broken up, which you acknowledge were still the Roman Empire, according to Daniel. So no.
So what constitutes a remnant? Because you seem to be equivocating.
Well, you said it's when kingdoms split. So you said when Daniel talks about them
that's
dividing.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. So
Then
in
clarify.
Daniel 8, Alexander's kingdom splits into 4, but it's the same beast, it's the same animal, it's the same kingdom. They are just 4 kings from the same kingdom, right?
Yeah, I'm willing to grant that, sure.
All right. Under what metric is that the case?
Well, they claim to continue his work. They were still technically of the same ethnicity, of that Macedonian lineage. So you can make that argument there.
Sorry, having the same ethnicity means that. Okay, cool. So under the Medo-Persians, the Babylonians have the same ethnicity?
Under the Babylon, I mean, sure, but they weren't ruling at that point.
Oh, okay. So then the metric has nothing to do with ethnicity. What is the metric?
Metric for the end of the it does, because
for
again,
the,
it's about
for
who's
the
ruling.
four, for the
It's about
four
who's
split
ruling.
kingdoms, for the four split kingdoms being part of the 4 of the whole kingdom, what is the metric?
I told you it's so the rulers come in, they're Macedonian, and they set up their distinct empires and are still ruling as Macedonians.
Okay, cool. So how is that the case with the Roman Empire?
No, definitely not.
Oh, okay. So the Roman Empire was destroyed.
Well, no, because by the time the Byzantines were there, they were a different
Roman
people.
Empire
They were a different ethnicity. They were a different language.
Mike, is the Roman Empire gone today, or is it still here?
Depends on who you ask. Russia says there's still continuation.
I'm asking
of Rome.
you. I'm asking you, Mike. 'cause
Yeah,
I'm
I
debating
said
you.
it ended in 1204. So I think is the best way to set that date at.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Beautiful. So actually, that fulfills Daniel, because Daniel doesn't require Rome to be fully complete. It just requires that Islam is the next superpower. As you see in the statue, when the statue is destroyed, it turns into Shaf, right? It says that it was like Shaf, and the air came and took it away. So then,
But then
does
then you
Islam,
didn't destroy it.
let me finish. Does Islam come after the Roman Empire and weaken the Roman Empire and take more land than the Roman Empire did in 70 years than the Roman Empire did in 800 years?
No,
They don't?
because it didn't take it all, and then actually the Holy Roman Empire was the reformulation of the Western.
I didn't
and
say that.
outlived
Were
it.
they the next power block super empire?
Sure, but that doesn't fulfill Daniel then.
Oh, okay, beautiful.
That's time right there.
How-
That's time.
All right.
It's time right there.
We'll get,
All right,
we'll
Mike.
get back in that.
All right, Mike. You have 15 minutes to cross-examine Orthodox, and I will start your time as soon as you ask your first question.
All right, excellent. Okay, so when did the Roman Empire end?
According to scholarship, what I've seen, it fully ended in 1453.
What is the metric they use to say that's the end of the Roman Empire?
I'm not a historian. I don't know.
So
the
you don't
metric.
know. So the only
No,
metric you're using is historians say so.
I can't tell you what metric. I could tell you what I observe, right? But I'm not a historian, so I can't tell you what metric. I would assume it would be the end of their governance. It would be the end of their rule. It would be the end of their image. It would be the end of their systems or governmental systems, and the end of their authority.
Didn't
But when
the
it comes to-
Ottomans
let me
just
fin-
adopt
let me
all of
finish
the
my-
key
let me
administrative
finish my an-
structures
let me finish-
of the
let me
Roman
finish
Empire?
Let me finish my answer. Thank you very much.
Let's allow him to
But-
complete his answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
But according to Daniel, because we're dealing with Daniel, the conquering of Rome is that of the conquering of Greece, is that of the conquering of Medo-Persia, is that of the conquering of Babylon. And I see no difference between what happened to Babylon and what happened to Rome.
Did Muslims conquer the traditional land of Rome then?
Depends on what that means. What does that mean?
Italy.
Traditional land. Who says
Italy.
that's the traditional land of Rome?
That's where they got started. That's where Rome
Yeah,
is.
I know. Yeah, so where they got started means that this is what it means to be Rome.
I'm asking. You said they had to conquer the
It's just
land. So did the
Mike.
Muslims conquer all the land of Rome?
No, they didn't conquer all the lands. They conquered most
Okay,
of the
thank you.
lands.
So they
and
didn't
they,
actually
let
conquer
me
the
finish.
Roman
Let me
Empire.
finish. I'm answering.
I'm moving on. We're done. I need to
I'm
move
at,
on to
no,
other
you're letting
questions
me.
here.
You're gonna. I'm gonna answer. Thank you very much.
Hurry
I'm
up.
gonna answer. All right. So the Muslims conquered what was left of Rome, the Constantinople, and that area of Eastern Europe. They conquered it all, and Rome was no more, according to what scholarship says. Yeah.
Did the Ottomans claim to end the Roman Empire?
Yes, they did.
No. Okay, well that is false, but we can move on.
Yeah.
What was one of the titles the Ottoman sultans had for themselves? Are you aware that it was Kaiser Rum, Caesar of Rome?
Yep.
When the Roman Empire broke up, and the Ottomans conquered that, does that mean they conquered the Roman Empire according to you?
Broke up what? What are you referring to?
In 1204.
I'm not aware. I'm not aware what you're referring to.
Yeah, I know you don't know the history. What about the Western Roman Empire? Did that reformulate into the Holy Roman Empire?
The Holy Roman Empire?
Yeah, did that not reformulate into the Holy Roman Empire?
In what year?
Under Charlemagne, so in the early 800s.
In the early no, that wouldn't be Rome that Daniel describes.
That wouldn't be Rome. So if it breaks up into distinct pieces, it's no longer Rome then.
Yeah, because it has nothing to do with the Fourth Roman Empire. That is the beast.
Excellent. So when it breaks up, it's no longer Rome. Good. Glad to know we've conceded.
That's not what I said, Mike Jones. That's not what I said. You said when it broke up and reformed in the 1800s, right?
No.
Anything?
That's when the Holy Roman Empire ended.
You just said it right in the 1800s, but Rome.
No, I said 800 under Charlemagne.
Let me finish. Rome. When the western part of Rome was demolished by the barbarian tribes in the 5th century in 479, I believe, there was no more Western Rome. It was all taken over by the barbarian tribes.
So when they destroyed that means that's the end of the Western Roman Empire because they broke up into smaller kingdoms?
Sorry, say that one more time.
When that happened, that means that was the end of the Western Roman Empire because they broke up into smaller kingdoms?
Just the West, but not the end of Rome.
Okay, so when the East breaks up into smaller kingdoms, that's also the end of the Roman Empire in 1204, correct?
When you say broken into smaller kingdoms, according to what?
According to history.
Again,
broke up into smaller kingdoms.
Remember,
different emperors ruling over different areas.
The Byzantine Empire was finished in 1453. Nobody disagrees. Everybody knows that the Eastern Empire was finished in what happened in 1453, Mike Jones?
Ottomans claim to. So I'm asking questions here. So I want to continue on this. That's why the Western Roman Empire. Yeah. Hold on, I'm asking questions. When the Western Roman Empire split into smaller kingdoms, you said that's the end of the Western Roman Empire.
What's the smaller kingdom?
So why would not that be? Let me finish my question. Yeah. When the Eastern Roman Empire broke up into smaller kingdoms in 1204, why is that not the end of the Eastern Roman Empire?
What? Breaking up into smaller kingdoms means that the kingdom is finished?
That's what you said about the Western one.
That's literally the opposite of what I said. According to Daniel, breaking up into smaller power blocks does not mean that now the whole beast is destroyed. That's just not what Daniel says. And I can refer to Daniel chapter 8.
So then you would agree that the Western Roman Empire continued as those other kingdoms and was never destroyed by Islam.
No, the Western Empire. One sec. Can you pause the time? My camera died, man. Hold on. Pause the time.
He's getting his camera back together. I guess I'll go over some announcements here. We are going to be having the Gospel Truth Conference is coming up soon, guys. Only in a couple of days. This conference is, I think, going to be the best theological debate conference ever. That's my opinion. Obviously, I'm biased. But I think it's going to be fantastic. I got some of the heavy hitters coming. So it looks like Orthodox is back. So we'll get back into it.
Can you
Let
hear
me
me?
know when you're ready.
All right.
Yep, I can hear you.
All right. Sorry. Carry on.
Okay, so again, if the Western Roman Empire broke up, according to Daniel, that would still be the continuation of that empire. Why would? Okay, so then for the East, are you saying that's the same thing?
Again, you're equivocating. The breaking up of smaller kingdoms is still a part of the bigger kingdom, that now where the bigger kingdom is now divided and being ruled by multiple different kings under different jurisdictions. That's
Beautiful.
not the same
Excellent.
as the Western. Can you stop with the ad libs? That's not the same as Western Empire being taken over by the Visigoths and being destroyed, and then the Holy Roman Empire now comes around. This is not the same at all.
So when outside people come in and take over the entity, that means that empire is ended.
That's just not what I said. You're not tracking. So I'm gonna repeat it. I'm gonna repeat it for you one more time. My metric and my standard is exactly what Daniel says. Daniel had Babylon. Babylon was succeeded by Medo-Persia. Medo-Persia was succeeded by Macedonian Greece. Macedonian Greece was succeeded by Rome. Okay, now if we go to Daniel 8, Macedonian Greece splits up into 4 power blocks, but Daniel still considered it to be the same exact beast, just split up. So the same metric that I'm using for Daniel is the same metric I'm using for Islam and the Roman Empire.
Great. So when the Roman Empire split up in the West, it continued on then by that metric, according to Daniel.
No, it didn't continue on because the whole Western Empire was demolished. And what continued, the kingdom wasn't finished. What continued is the eastern part, Byzantium, which continued for 1,000 more years. There was no more Western Rome.
Yeah, but you said that when it broke up, it's a continuation of the kingdom, like with Macedonia. So why isn't when the Western kingdom breaks up, it is just a continuation, and then it just reformulates as the Holy Roman Empire?
Because it didn't just break up; it just was destroyed. It was finished. There was no more Western Rome.
According to who?
What came later has nothing to do with the Roman Empire.
Okay, so if an empire breaks up into smaller kingdoms and then reformulates later, it's no longer the Roman Empire.
That's again, Mike, you're not getting it, and you're equivocating on purpose because you're getting slapped. With all due respect, so I'm gonna repeat it one more time. Yeah. If you say so, so I'm gonna repeat it one more time. The split in the West and the East happened at the end of the 3rd century. Then at the end of the 4th century. At the end of the 4th century, at the end of the 5th century, Western Rome is no more because it was consumed by the Germanic tribes. But what continued on is Byzantium. There was no more Western Rome. That beast was just Rome, and that Rome was identified as Byzantium and was continued to be known as Rome. And I brought you the sources, like the Syriac sources say. They make no distinguishment between West or East. They call Byzantium Rome, the same Roman Empire that subjugated them for 500 years until the Muslims came with victory and kicked them out.
Question. If they're calling themselves Rome, that makes them Rome in the East?
That's not what I said. I didn't say just because
I'm asking a question. Can you answer the question?
Nope, it's not, but it's a part of it. Why? Because they were identified as the same Roman Empire, not a distinct entity.
Okay, so then is that the case for what happened after the those rump states of 1204? Were they still the same Roman Empire?
I'm not sure what you're referring to. Rump states?
When 1204, when the Latin Crusaders took over Constantinople and they broke up into the Latin Empire, the Despotate of Epirus, the Empire of Trebizond, and the Empire of Nicaea. Okay, which one of those is the Roman Empire at that point?
No, it would still be considered Rome, just like in Daniel 8.
Which one?
What do you mean, which one? All of them were considered the same beast. Bro.
Okay, so they're all Roman empires.
Mike Jones, Daniel 8 considers the question. 4 kingdoms that split from Rome to be the same beast. So if a kingdom dissolves or is governed by different jurisdictions or splits up into smaller parts, it doesn't make it a different kingdom according to Daniel himself. So according to Daniel,
when the Western Roman Empire split up It would be the continuation of the Roman Empire, just
The
like what
Western
happened in the East
Empire
later.
didn't. Right. Thank you very much. The Western Empire didn't just split up, it was consumed. There was no more Western Empire. There was just Rome, and that Rome was just Byzantium.
So okay. So then, if it's consumed by outside people coming in, it's no longer Rome.
Did I say that?
That's what I'm asking, because that's what you imply.
Yeah. So if it was consumed, there was no more recognizable Roman entity. It was invaded by Germanic tribes, had nothing to do with the Roman identity, the Roman image, the Roman governance, nothing. They were a distinct people with a distinct governance, with a distinct identity. A distinct entity came and consumed the western part of Rome. Rome continued to be just Byzantium.
So then, by that logic, when the Latin Crusaders came in and conquered Constantinople in 1204, that was the end of the Roman Empire because they were a distinct people.
Nope, because when that happened, according to you, they split into smaller sections of the same Eastern Byzantine Empire.
And that didn't happen in the West at all. There were no entities still calling themselves the descendants of the Roman Empire. It didn't happen in like Spain, for example, or any of that.
What? When the Visigoths took over?
Yeah, they claim to still be a part of Rome, for example. Like that's not the same thing.
Show the source where the Visigoths claim to.
I don't have it on me, but that's just basic history.
No, you just said the Visigoths and Germanic tribes claim to be Rome. Where is that?
They claim to be ruling over Rome.
No, you just lied. You said they claim to be.
Yeah.
Nope. You said they claim to be Rome.
Mm-hmm.
Where is that?
Okay, so I'm asking questions here, not you. Can we get back to this? So again,
Okay,
1204. Where
So
is the Roman Empire after that?
Out of your teeth?
Will
see
you
how you're lying
answer the
out of your
questions
teeth
across
because you're
examining?
struggling?
Stop running, Libiano. Libiano, stop running and answer the
yourself.
questions.
The only one is running
Answer
is
the
you.
question.
All I'm getting is voice cracks and no substance.
Oh my God.
Guys, moderator talking. Now I'm gonna stop the time here. I'm gonna pause it. Let's get it. Let's settle down a little bit. Mike, I'm gonna let you go ahead and rehash that question one more time, and Libiano, answer it the best you can.
Okay, so again, where is the Roman Empire in 1205?
Okay, guys. So clearly, Mike Jones got caught lying. So I'm gonna repeat my answer again. The Eastern Rome, even if it's split into smaller jurisdictions, it doesn't mean that the Eastern Roman identity was destroyed. And according to scholarship, mainstream historical historians, they say that Rome was ended in the 1400s. Okay,
Why do
very
they say
simple.
That? Why do they say that?
You're quoting.
Why do they say that? Is this cross-examination? Why do they?
Mike,
No,
hey, Karen,
no, I want an answer to that.
Karen,
No,
be quiet.
no.
I'm answering.
Why do they say that?
Karen,
Come on, Ben.
Karen,
Stop
I'm
running
on
from the
your
question.
period.
Stop running.
Karen is on her period and she doesn't want to let me talk.
Guys, let's chill out on the name calling and let's allow the proper conversation, guys. All right, so once again, go ahead, ask that question again, Mike. I guess the follow-up question, and Libiano, go ahead and answer the best you can.
Once again,
Okay.
why do
So I was
historians say 1453?
I was answering, and Karen cut me off because she's on her menses. So
Man,
I'd
the
like to
insults, these two
continue.
men, they get desperate, man.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, why are you acting like the nice guy and you're ripping up Qurans? Please, don't give the nice guy act. Okay.
Show me one Quran I
Police
ripped
be
up.
upon him and Qurans being ripped.
Guys,
Yeah, don't act. Don't do the nice guy act.
Let's get back on track, guys.
Don't do the nice guy act.
Guys, let's get back on track. Mike, ask the question again. Libiano, answer the question the best you can.
All right.
Once again, let's stay on topic. Stop trying to wear the time down. Why do historians say the Roman Empire ended in 1453? What metric are they using?
I already answered this question. So as Edward Gibbon says here, here's the quote. I could read it for you. He says, from an humble origin, the Ottomans arose, the scourge and the terror of Christendom. Constantinople was besieged and taken by Muhammad II, and his triumph annihilates the remnant, the image, the title of the Roman Empire in the East. So remnant.
So if that's true,
the title.
Hold up, I
of the
gotta
Roman
ask a
Empire
question,
in the
man.
East.
We're running out of time. Stop trying to wear the clock down. If that's true, why did the title of Caesars of Rome continue under the Ottomans?
Okay, Beautiful. So what Mike is saying, because Muhammad II, he says that he's the Caesar, right? That means that he thinks that he is a part of the Roman Empire?
That's what he claimed. Yeah, he claimed to inherit it.
Okay, beautiful. So if I say I'm the Pharaoh of today, that means I'm part of the Egyptian Empire?
Well, no, because you don't actually have a title or a claim to it. He actually had a claim to it.
Okay.
All right,
He
that's
had a
beautiful,
claim.
guys.
Yeah.
So he says, he's
All right,
this,
guys.
yeah, Mike.
That's time right
that
there.
was terrible.
So, I mean, if you guys want to carry this one on, we do have 30 more minutes of open discussion, open dialogue now. So let me get the timer set here real quick. Make sure I get it right so we don't go over time here. And I'm not sure who wants to begin the open dialogue, but
Sure,
you guys
I have
30
a
more
lot of
minutes.
things I didn't.
I
have a
want
lot
him
of
to keep
things that he
answering. He's
said
not answering
and
my
he didn't address.
questions. I need
No,
to know
sure,
how he
we
knows
could-
the
we
Roman
have-
Empire
we
in
have-
1453.
We have 30 minutes, but remember, you said I didn't answer you when I had no time. You see how deceptive you are? You said, "Oh, he didn't
No,
talk
that's not
about
what
this, and
happened.
he didn't talk about that." So, anyways, you said that in Matthew. Let me address what you said. You said in Matthew, it says that God sent his armies. Unless you want to say that the Roman army is God's army. Interesting. Does God say that Assyria is the rod of his anger?
Yeah, he uses different armies. Yeah.
Is it the
So what?
rod of his anger?
Yeah, he uses different armies to allow
Oh,
them
so
to come and do
Assyria
stuff.
is God's arm. So Assyria is God's army.
That's not what that says. No, it's a rod of his
It
anger.
says
He's allowing
he
them
is-
to go
it
and do
says
stuff.
he's the rod. Okay, so it's the rod of his anger, right?
Yeah, he's allowing that
All
to
right.
happen.
So the rod belongs to God, right?
Yeah, but his army is the angelic army.
Oh, beautiful. All right, beautiful. So then the Assyrian
making
army,
sense.
that is the rod, belongs to God, right?
He allows all sorts of armies to do things, and then he
okay.
he says that he allows you to come in and do that. So what? That's not that does not show that's his
beautiful.
army.
Thank you so much, Mike. So when it says that God sent the king sent his armies, it doesn't have any insinuation of the army being people of God or polytheists or not. God is using them for punishment, and in that sense, it is predicated onto God. Why? Because Paul also says that kingship and everything in the world belongs to God. Everything is God's.
You're making
Therefore,
the
the
point for me.
Romans are
We don't
God's
take
army?
you're making the point for me. We don't take these hyper literal readings. Thank you. That's what I wanted you to say. You're right. Matthew
beautiful.
21 and 22 parables are not hyper literal. They're
Beautiful.
approximations of the kingdom of God.
I never said they were hyper literal, whatever that means. Okay. But again, according to these, that's just a misunderstanding. I never said that you are to hyper literal. I don't think that every little detail maps out into reality, but we have no reason to reject the timeline that Jesus gives. What reason do you have to reject the timeline that's attested in both parables?
I told you, because the prior time before that, before the son and heir is killed, which I'm curious if you're going to try to argue that's John the Baptist, we'd only have to conclude prophets were sent twice.
Please.
Okay, and that does not map the Christian or the Islamic timeline. These are approximations, not accurate, not completely mapping on the reality perfectly.
How does that? So wait. So 1 second. So because it only mentions 2 sending of prophets, that means there was only 2 prophets?
No, there'll be 2 groups of them, according to you, if you want to take that hyperliteral reading of the timeline.
Oh, beautiful. But I'm not reading it that way. I'm asking you in terms of. I'm asking in terms of the events that happen. There's God assigns Israel. God sends Israel prophets. God punishes Israel. After God punishes Israel, guess what? God sends in the prophets to the Gentiles. Now you ask, well, why do we reject that this is not only 2 groups? Why? Because we have just.
Where does Matthew 21 say prophets are going to be sent to the Gentiles after?
Let me
say that.
Let me finish. Because both parables are saying the same thing, right?
No, not according to you now. Now you just debunked yourself, because it doesn't say there were prophets sent after.
I didn't ask that. In Matthew 21 and Matthew 22, okay, in Matthew 22, does God send his servants to the alleyways to invite anybody he could find?
Immediately after the city is destroyed, yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Are the servants the prophets?
Possibly. Or they could be angelic
Possibly.
messengers. There's different scholars that agree.
Okay, beautiful. So then God does send whoever the servants are, which according to majority interpretations of the prophets, how we know that? Because they are killed and rejected. So prophets.
So every
and
servant is a
people-
prophet?
Let me finish. I'm finishing. Thank
Every
you.
servant?
Let me finish. Thank you. So as we know, God sends holy people and prophets to his people, and they reject and kill them. Anyway, that supports my
Okay.
point. So after that, God sends them after 70 AD. Is that correct?
He sends several people out after 70 AD. Sure, yeah.
Oh, beautiful. But you said he doesn't earlier. And you said, where does it say that?
No,
It doesn't say
no.
that?
Well, no, I'm talking about a specific prophet who's supposed to come. That's
I
not
didn't
what these
say-
are
I didn't
about.
say
This is about God
specific
sending out
prophet. You
servants.
said it-
Okay, you've been
you
talking
said
a while.
that-
You got to let me talk now.
Mike, you
Calm
said the
down.
text doesn't say
Calm
that.
down.
You said
You're
the
going to get
text
to
doesn't say
talking a
that,
little
Mike.
bit. You have to let me respond.
talk.
Calm down.
Talk.
Okay.
Respond. Yeah,
Anyway,
go ahead.
again, it says servants generally. Again, these are approximations. There is no mention of some future prophet after that is going to deliver revelation. Why are you going to these passages? They don't support your case. Or do you not believe in Surah 7157 or Surah 61:6?
Beautiful.
These are not the
Thank
scripture of
you so-
Muhammad.
Thank you so much, Michael Jones, for conceding that it does say that, because earlier you said it doesn't say that. Now you said, it says servants. Yeah, I agree. The Prophet Muhammad and the companions
General.
who fit the description of servants were sent, and guess what? They were sent after 70 AD. So now let
Immediately?
me ask you.
Immediately
Doesn't have
after
to be
70 AD,
immediate.
because that's the way these
Doesn't say
parables
immediate.
read. It happens.
Show me where it says immediate. Show
that's
me
how
where it
it-
says. Show me
No,
where it
That's
says
the
immediately.
context.
Show
If
me
you're
where it says it.
preparing, it's the context. If you're
I said,
preparing
show
a
me where it
wedding
says it.
feast, you don't
All
let
right,
it
show it.
sit for 600
Show it.
years.
Show it.
I'm taking the hyperliteral timeline you want.
No, show
If
me-
we're going to
show
go on
me where
that
it says that.
timeline. Has to happen right.
Mike, verse, please. Mike, verse.
Yeah, okay, fair. I'll read it. Okay, so the king was angry and he sent his troops to destroy those murderers, burn the city. Then he said to his servants, "The wedding feast is ready, but those invited were not worthy." So as soon as it's destroyed, he then says, "Okay, it's ready, go." So that follows.
Where
right
does
after.
where does it say that it's immediate and has to happen right away?
It's in the context.
It's not. Can you show it?
Yes, I just read it for you, man.
No,
I don't know what to tell you if you can't
Hey guys,
listen.
I didn't see immediate or right after. Where does it say that?
Oh my gosh, that's an exact word fallacy, bro.
Oh, okay, beautiful. So there's nothing. You're just inferring that from the text. Thank you very much. Now,
That's what you're doing.
you said that Jesus was historically crucified and died according to the parable. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
that's-
I
and you
okay.
said-
So no,
and you-
wait,
and you
we're
said
not
that's
moving on
problematic
topic. We
in
need to
my
go. No, hold on.
Are you gonna
brought the
let
topic
me
down.
reply
Yeah,
to
let's,
everything you said?
No, this is not how this is going to work, sir. You
You're-
brought up a topic. I want to go back to the Roman Empire. You still haven't answered
all of
me.
these
How
that
do
you're
you
running
know
out.
it ends? No.
Okay, guys.
Yeah. So
All right,
Mike,
guys. Let's
Mike is running, man.
guys, let's reel it in a little bit.
You don't want to deal with
we don't
everything
wanna-
else you said?
We don't want to talk over each other, guys, because everybody's trying to listen to what you guys are saying, man. So let's be courteous and let's allow people to respond, and let's allow people to get their questions off as well.
Beautiful. So all I'm saying,
let's be cool.
Again.
good.
Oh my
All I'm
Again,
saying-
you just wanted to
I'm
talk
gonna
about
speak now,
Matthew
Mike.
22.
I'm gonna
Now,
speak now,
no,
Mike.
you're not going to speak. You just
Mike,
brought
I
up
am
the
gonna
topic. We
speak.
discussed
No,
it.
I'm gonna speak,
No, you're
Mike.
not. No,
Mike,
you're
can
not.
we be cordial?
No, you're not.
Mike, can
You're
we be
not.
can we be
You're
cordial
not
so we
being
can have a
cordial.
conversation?
I am
Let's
being
have a
cordial. We
conversation.
talked about
Let's-
Matthew 22.
let's
have a
I wanted
conversation.
to. Now I want to talk
You guys,
about
I don't want to have
background
to.
Daniel.
Guys,
Why is this guy
guys,
manifesting,
I
dude?
don't want to have to keep interrupting, man. I want you guys to be able to flow, man.
I know.
So,
I
you
know.
guys-
I want to flow. as
Okay,
well.
so
He
let's
has-
try this, man.
He has
Let-
all
I-
of these.
I
He
get it.
has all of these that
yeah.
I haven't responded to yet. He thinks that he's going to get
Okay.
away with saying all of this, and I'm not
But
going
he
to respond
can't-
to it. That's not going to happen. I'm
Okay.
going to respond to
Okay.
everything he said.
For sure. I
Yeah.
think that's only fair. But we have to allow
Mm-hmm.
everybody to ask the question and then respond to the question. Talking over
Thank you.
and stuff, it's hard
All
to
right.
understand what you guys are saying. So let's try
Okay.
again. Go for it.
Once again,
All right,
we
so-
just talked about Matthew 22. I still need an answer on how you know the Roman Empire ended in 1453.
We're
Stop
not
running
done
from
ta-
that.
Let me finish. You're the one running.
Okay,
You
he's going to run
spewed
from
a
that. He's
bunch
going
of-
to because he can't
let me
answer
fin-
me.
Let me finish,
Can't answer
IP.
me.
You
Can it?
spewed a bunch
He's
of
conceded
nonsense.
Daniel
at me.
now.
Bro,
Thank you.
can
I'm glad
can
you've conceded
can
Daniel.
Stop, can you stop talking while I'm talking? Thank you very
You've
much.
conceded Daniel.
Mike,
This is great. Let's
we,
go ahead.
we spoke about your gibberish nonsense. You said the Roman Empire is a Turkish empire. You should be ashamed of yourself because you're gonna be made a laughing stock. But remember, you said all of this and you uttered it, and I haven't responded to it yet. So let me respond to all the garbage that you spewed. All right. So you said that Jesus historically
Doesn't want to talk about Daniel,
crucified-
guys. Just remember that.
No,
He's
I
never
want
afraid of that.
we spoke. All we've been doing
Mm-hmm.
is speaking about Daniel, but we haven't spoken about anything else. So
Well,
can you
you
stop
never answered
wasting
my
time?
question. Let the
Can
record
you stop
show you
wasting?
did not answer
Wow,
me
this
on
guy,
that. You did
this
not
guy is
answer me
actually
on the
wasting
end of the
time.
Roman Empire.
Hey,
So just
host,
want
can
everyone to
you
see
can you
that
pause the time?
you did not answer.
Guys,
Host,
I'm going to be forced to cut this open dialogue short.
no. Don't cut
I,
it short. Just make
okay,
sure that Mike
I
Jones
want.
understand. Can you please pause it because the time is running and he's gonna get away from this. Please pause the time.
Hold on.
Can you pause the time?
All right. Yes.
All right. Mike Jones made several points against me. I didn't even get to respond to a third, not even half of them. We've been speaking about Daniel the whole time. You've showed that you're an idiot, that you stick to fringe positions.
Wow, listen to that.
I wanna listen. I wanna address everything you said. I wrote it down. So why are you terrified of addressing everything you said? You thought you were gonna get away with it? All right. So can we please
Sir.
get back to addressing everything you said?
No. That's not how this is an open
No,
dialogue.
we're
You
not?
brought up a topic.
okay.
Now I like to talk about a topic.
Wow.
If you're going to run on that, just say you don't
Wow,
want to talk
man.
about Daniel. You need to do more research. Just say that.
All
You don't
we-
know how
all
to
we've
answer this
spoke-
stuff on Daniel.
All we've spoken about is Daniel, sir. We haven't spoken
we talked
about
about
anything
Matthew.
else. We
All
have
right,
just
guys.
right. We just
Matthew for
started
like 5
We
minutes.
just started talking about. We just started, and we have
Okay.
everything else. We have Psalm 74. We have Malachi.
I-
we have all the
guys,
garbage arguments. you gave.
guys, listen up.
Come on, man.
If we can't dialogue correctly, I'm either going to put time bands on the response and answer. We're going to go back to old formal cross X, or I'm just going to eliminate this portion of the debate and be done with it. So let's try.
I'm
our
fine.
best. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I'm fine if we just do 1 minute back and forth. If he's not going to answer my questions, I'm fine doing 1 minute times through the rest of this.
No. 1 minute is how he's gonna run away with timing. Okay, so he's not gonna to run away behind the time. He's gonna answer these points that he spewed, right? And then we can get to Daniel. We've spoken about Daniel. You've asked the same question over and over and over again for
How many-
15 minutes. I
how-
answered.
Okay.
So
let me
I want
ask
to get
this.
I want to get
Liviano,
back to answering everything
Liviano,
else.
how many more questions do you have? For how many questions?
No,
do you
brother,
have?
I don't. It's not questions. He made some points in his rebuttal that I never got to address, and I'd like to speak about them.
Okay. All right. I'm allowing
we've-
you time
we've-
to go
we've
ahead.
been speaking about
hold
Daniel
on,
the whole
hold on,
time.
Hold on. I'm trying to address it. I'm going to allow you
All
to answer. I'm going to allow you to address those current concerns. Mike, just answer the questions the best way you can. And I'm going to allow you some time. But then I'm going to switch over to Mike, and Mike's going to have time to ask questions as well. Okay?
Sounds
so
good.
I want to keep it as an open dialogue. I'm going to allow you your time, Liviano. And go ahead, ask your
Sure.
question. And Mike, answer the best you can.
Good.
Sure. All right. Can we start now?
Yep.
Mhm.
Go for it.
All right. You said Jesus historically was crucified according to the criterions that I used, and he died. And this is problematic from my position. How so?
Because if you're going to use like criterion of dissimilarity, typical historical criteria, you need to accept other facts as well. And that, for example, meets criterion of dissimilarity, criterion of embarrassment, and many other aspects. So why would you only use it for the parables, but not for an historical fact that all historians accept?
Oh, okay. Beautiful. What is my position, Michael Jones?
Your position is that these parables somehow predict the coming of Islam.
No, I understand, but what is my position on the historical authenticity of the crucifixion of Christ?
I don't know. You've not actually said it, but I'm curious. So why don't you tell me?
So how do you know that it refutes my position if you don't know my position?
Well, then tell me your position instead of just not saying it.
Oh, beautiful. So you don't know. All right. So so you said Jesus was historically crucified and died. My position is that's exactly what the Quran says in terms of the historical context. There's two claims the Quran makes. It makes a historical natural claim and a supernatural claim. The historical claim is that according to the attestation, people would have said Jesus died. But supernaturally, he didn't actually die, but he was raised. That's why the Quran says it was made to appear so. Now, Michael Jones, if the Quran says God made it
That's
appear
ad hoc, but okay, that's just ad hoc.
if the Quran, you asked for my position, you said this contradicts
It's
my
an
position.
ad hoc
so let's see if
position.
it
You
does.
can hold to it.
All right,
It's not
so
holding
let's
to
see,
historical criteria.
let's see if it contradicts. You said it contradicts, Mike. Don't run. The Quran saying it seemed to appear so. Would we expect anybody to say that he wasn't crucified if the Quran said God made it appear so?
We would say that again. That doesn't make sense.
If the Quran, open up your ears. If the Quran says God made it appear so, do we expect any attestation to say otherwise?
To say that he wasn't? Yeah, absolutely. His disciples were to reported it.
Yeah. His disciples were there and it was made to appear so. Are you stupid?
So his disciples didn't know the truth. They weren't actually teaching Islam. They were teaching Christianity. Great. That's great.
Guys, hold on. Guys, hold on.
Oh,
Leave me
man.
alone. Just chill on the ad hominems, man. Just chill, man.
All right,
You just
all
have
right,
your
all right.
conversing, brother.
I got
You know what I'm
got
saying?
you.
Just
All
chop it up. Just chop it up
Can't help
right,
himself.
man. That's all you got to do.
All right, I got you. So Ibn
All right.
Taymiyyah says that we have no problem saying that the earliest followers believe Jesus died. You said, oh, you consider Christianity. No, because even according to Paul, the mere crucifixion doesn't establish Christianity. Christianity necessitates crucifixion. Crucifixion doesn't necessitate Christianity. So again, if God made it appear so, do we expect any attestation to say otherwise?
We would expect people that were preaching the beliefs of Islam, like the
Oh my
disciples,
God.
to say that he was taken to heaven.
That's not what I asked. I said, according to Islam, it was made to appear so. So, according
You're
to
not getting
Islam, it was made to appear so. Do we expect any historical attestation to say otherwise?
And I've answered you, yes, the people that were supposedly preaching
my
Islam, like the disciples, for example, because the Quran says
Sir.
the disciples were Muslims. So therefore, they should be believing what Islam teaches. And they
So
didn't
according-
say that. According to you, they were
according
deceived.
to
The
us,
Quran
the
is wrong, and they
disciples-
thought Jesus was crucified.
So, Mike, according to me, did the disciples think Jesus was crucified?
I don't know. You've not said your position. I'm curious
Oh,
if you
now you're
contradict the Quran,
confused?
but go ahead.
You just
Well,
said
you-
if they were Muslim, that means they were preaching that he wasn't crucified. Is that what you just said?
That would be what, yeah, that'd have to be the case because that's what the Quran says.
All right,
That's what Muslims supposed to
it
believe.
it doesn't follow because the Quran never says the disciples knew that he wasn't crucified. Where does it say that in the Quran?
Oh, so they were preaching he was crucified.
They believed he was crucified, and that doesn't necessitate Christianity.
Okay, you guys heard it here. Libiano thinks the disciples
Yep.
were preaching Jesus was crucified. Okay,
That's
great.
exactly
So
what
you
Ibn
just
Taymiyyah
threw
says.
people like Ibn
That's
Kathir
exactly
under
what
the
our
bus who
scholarship
said the
says.
disciples knew this. The disciples
Is
so
this
you threw
is
Ibn
it-
Kathir
so
under
this
the
is
bus.
this is not responding. This is my position. Does this contradict Islam?
Yeah, it does because
right.
the disciples
All right,
are
how does
supposed
it
to be
contradict Islam?
Muslims. They're
I just
supposed to be
told you, you
Muslims
could
and
be-
believe what Islam
I just-
teaches.
All right, what nullifier of Islam did they break?
They believe Jesus died.
Is that a nullifier?
Yeah, because according to you, the Quran doesn't say that. So they should be in a line with what Islam teaches. And you
Well,
just
God
threw Ibn
didn't re-
Kathir under the bus as
didn't-
well. Just
God
remember
didn't
that.
reveal that until God didn't reveal that until the 7th century. So again,
Oh, so
what
he
is the
made
nullifier that
Christianity.
they committed? Nope, because
Again-
crucifixion doesn't necessitate Christianity.
Okay, well, you threw Ibn Kathir under the bus because he says the
That's not-
disciples
that's
knew what
not-
was going
That's not
on.
what I asked. Does the crucifixion
Mhm.
necessitate Christianity?
It is definitely a necessary foundation for it. And
didn't
the
a- I
opposite
didn't-
is a necessary
didn't ask
foundation
that.
for Islam.
Didn't ask that. I didn't say in Christianity is a crucifixion necessary. I said, does a crucifixion necessitate Christianity?
No.
Oh, so the disciples could have believed in a crucifixion and not been preaching Christianity, right?
And then they wouldn't have been Muslims. Yeah, sure.
Oh, really? Show me that in the Quran.
Yeah, because according to Islamic theology, Jesus wasn't crucified. And Ibn Kathir says they were in on this. They knew what was going to happen.
According to
So according to you,
Islamic
they can't actually be
theology-
Muslim because they're believing in something, a core doctrine of Christianity and not a core doctrine of Islam. Thank you for that.
Wait,
I'm glad you
so according
threw the
Okay,
disciples under the bus and
according-
admitted they are in line with
according
Christianity.
according
All
to
right.
Islam, one second, let me land here. According to Islamic doctrine, the disciples had to believe Jesus was crucified, and they're not Muslim if they didn't. Is that what you're saying?
They would not be believing in a core doctrine of Islam if they believed he was crucified.
Is it only a core doctrine after it's revealed, or before it's revealed?
Well, it would have been revealed to them in the first century that. Then
Show me that in the Quran.
Huh?
That it was revealed in the
wait a
first
minute. So
century.
with so wait a minute. So we get this straight. So they were not
I'm wait-
actually
I'm waiting.
preaching what is in the
We're all-
Quran. They were not actually preaching the. You got to answer the question,
all
man.
waiting.
This is open dialogue.
Gotta-
Stop running.
let's
Okay,
allow-
listen.
let's
It is
allow
open
Lana
dialogue.
answer the question. Lana, answer
It
the
is
question.
open
Go ahead.
dialogue, man.
Yeah. So they were not actually preaching what the Quran teaches. You heard that from Libiano, folks. Thank you for that. I'm
No,
really
they were-
happy to
they were
know
teaching-
the
they were
disciples
teaching
were
exactly
preaching a
what the Quran
lie.
teaches.
They
They
were
were
teaching
preaching a lie,
exactly what the
according to
Quran
Liviano.
teaches, because the Quran says it was made to appear so. So the
Oh,
disciples
okay.
thought he
Okay.
was
So
crucified
they weren't
because the
preaching
Quran
it
says
was
it was
made to appear
made
so.
to
They were
appear
preaching
so.
he was. Notice that. They were
Wait,
preaching
are
he
you?
was, not what the Quran teaches. You
So
just buried the Quran. Thank you for that.
IP literally can't track. The Quran says it was made to appear so, and that was only shed light on in the 7th century. So before it was shed light on, because God made it appear so, it was so, right?
All right. It's time for me to ask questions now. Can we
All right,
actually
all
go
right.
back because he's been rambling
that's
for
what-
like 10 minutes?
That's what I thought. Thank you very much. All right, you can ask your question.
Thanks for throwing Islam under the bus. I appreciate that.
You
So
threw
again,
Christianity under the
when
bus.
did the Roman Empire end, and how do you know it was 1453? What metric?
According to scholarship, it ended 1453. That's what
So if
mainstream historians
scholars
say.
say
Let me.
so-
I'm answering your question. Are you a historian, Mike Jones?
No, neither are you. But go on.
Oh, okay. That's exactly why we appeal to people who are experts, because we're not historians, right, Mike Jones? So according to mainstream historians,
yeah.
Rome was ended in 1453. But remember, Mike Jones, I'm not making the argument that according to Daniel, it must be fulfilled by the Ottomans destroying Rome. I don't even need that as a necessary condition, because all that Daniel needs is for Rome to be subjugated so much that Rome becomes not a world empire anymore.
Got it. So let's go on that. So the criteria now is what historians say. Are there any historians that specialize in Daniel that agree with your interpretation of Daniel? If they are now the criterion for determining truth, I guess we have to throw out your interpretation of Daniel then.
What's my interpretation of Daniel?
You think the stone is Islam, and no historians I can find say that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a good question. So when I appeal to historians on a specific point, it doesn't mean that I must accept the historian on every point. Why? Because I'm locally justified and independently justified by other means. Because you and I have certain theological presuppositions that we could use to interpret Daniel that the historian doesn't have epistemic access to.
Great. So can you justify it ending in 1453, or do you just not know?
Yeah, according to mainstream historical position, it ended in 1453, and I have no reason to
can't.
doubt that that's. I have nope.
Right,
That's
you
not
can't
what I said.
actually
I said
justify
I have
it.
nope. It
That is
just
what you're
means that I
saying.
have no
Yep.
reason. Mike, is it that Mike? Let me ask you this: is it the mainstream position that it was ended in 1453?
It's an arbitrary date set by historians. It's not
I didn't
actually
ask
based
that.
on an objective
Didn't
metric.
ask that. Didn't
No,
ask
and
that.
then
Is it
no.
the mainstream?
Then the answer is
Is it the
no.
mainstream view? It's not the mainstream
No,
view?
because there's no objective
it.
metric that they can use.
Prove-
No,
prove
you
it.
have to prove it. You're the one making the claim.
You just-
Again, this
you
is about
just
Muhammad
said-
and the Bible.
you just-
We've been
you
going
just
for 20
said-
minutes. You've given me nothing.
And you're the one asking me about the Roman Empire. Now you don't want to talk
Yeah.
about it anymore? All right.
No, that's what you
So
brought up. Of
according-
course I have to talk
so-
about
so-
it.
So Mike Jones, according to this mainstream view, my interpretation follows, right?
No, it
Why
doesn't,
you- why
because
you
you're
look-
saying it's objective.
Well, what are you doing? Like, what
No.
are you doing, dude? What do you mean, no?
Are you going to
No
actually
what?
respond, or are you going to just try to wear the clock down? Come on. Stay on
did
topic,
respond.
bro.
Again, the response to your question was the metric that is used is that the mainstream historians say that Rome ended in 1453. I have no reason
Got
to
it.
doubt that hypothesis. Therefore,
Excellent.
the
So now our
hypothesis therefore
metric-
is the case.
Now our metric is what
Yeah.
historians have to say, what experts have to say. There are no experts that agree with you on your interpretation of Matthew. There are no experts that agree with you on interpretation of Daniel. Therefore, you just threw your entire argument under the bus.
And how did
You
I- and
just
how did I
debunked
answer that?
yourself.
And how did I answer that, Mike Jones? When you asked me about that just now, or are you not using your ears?
You
I
had a
said
double
I am
standard.
No, I don't, because I'm independently
Yeah.
justified by other reasons, because I have a different epistemology. Do you have the same epistemology as secular historians, Mike?
In some areas, yes, I have to. Yeah, because they use
Oh, okay,
basic
beautiful.
facts
But not
and use
entirely, right?
No. That
Oh,
doesn't have nothing to do with the topic, though. But you said your metric for ending the Roman Empire was what historians have to say. Then when I say, great, let's use that metric for other areas, you throw it out. You don't even bring it up.
Guys,
So
it's hard.
you're
It's
not
hard.
being
To,
consistent.
guys. It's hard to understand when you guys are talking over each other, man. Let's try to center in on. Let's try to get back on the topic and let's focus, man. It's hard to understand what you guys are saying.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not being consistent because his only metric for deciding the end of the Roman Empire in 1453 is because historians say so. But he uses a completely different methodology for Daniel. It's not a consistent methodology.
You just said you don't have the same epistemology. Are you not tracking? You yourself admitted that you don't share the same epistemology. So I am justified in saying that, look, there's this historical event, there's this historical evidence, and because of this historical evidence, historians come to that conclusion. I have no reason to reject their hypothesis based on my established methodology and my established epistemology. So I have no reason, Mike, to think that Rome wasn't ended in 1403. And Mike, you didn't address that I don't need 1453 for the prophecy to follow, because according to Daniel, ending Rome doesn't have to be literally demolishing it in a specific metric that Michael Jones comes up with. All you need is, as long as it's done in the same manner that Babylon was done, Medo-Persia was done, and Greece was done. And remember, Mike, you
can
said
I respond now?
What? I'm landing. You said it ended in 12 in the 1200s, right?
Okay, can I respond now?
Oh man,
you done?
The time is yours.
Let me respond.
Go.
Yeah.
Thank
you. Finally, I get to actually talk.
Thank you for asking permission.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good. Perfect. Okay. So by that logic, you can't say Islam ended the Roman Empire, because when it broke up into other pieces in the West, they never conquered that. And no, they didn't actually destroy it the way those other kingdoms did. Because again, the Roman Empire broke up. It was never fully conquered by the prior kingdoms, by your own metrics that you are using. But you're not even giving me a good metric for 1453. 1204 is a more definitive date. But if you want to keep going, you have to conclude that the Ottomans are the continuation of the Roman Empire, as they claimed, or that the Holy Roman Empire is the reformulation of the Western Roman Empire, and that ended in 1806 when Napoleon destroyed it. So you actually need to show something here, because by your own metrics, they did not actually destroy the Roman Empire or take over it like the prior kingdoms did. So this doesn't work for you. Islam does not fulfill Daniel 2 by that logic.
Okay, beautiful. So you notice how Mike Jones didn't respond to what I said. Mike Jones, you said that it happened in the 1200s, right?
Yep, 1204, when the Latin Crusaders came in, broke it up, and then established their own empire. Yeah.
What's the metric?
So again, it's similar to what happened in the West. So
what's the metric?
Outside invaders, I'm telling you, outside invaders came in, they conquered Constantinople, and then it split into distinct kingdoms. The Latin Empire, the Despotate of Epirus, the Empire of Trebizond, and the Empire of Nicaea. Similar to happened in the West. If that's the continuation of the Roman Empire, the Western side continued on long past, and Islam never conquered it.
So Rome ended in the 1200s, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what ended in 1453? Because something ended.
The rump state called Nicaea.
The rump state?
Yeah, the rump state that retook Constantinople, kicked out the Latin Empire, and so
what was it?
And
what was it known as?
It was known as the Empire of Nicaea, and then they started calling themselves the Romans again.
Oh, okay. So it was known as the Romans, right? Byzantine Rome?
Yeah, the same as the Ottomans. They're known as the Romans too.
Oh, okay, beautiful. So can you demonstrate that metric now that you use for the 1200s with the Medo-Persians and the Greeks?
No, because that's a different thing. They ended differently. That's my point. That's my whole point. That's my whole point, man. You're not even tracking with me. It's completely different.
Wow. Thank you so much, Michael Jones.
You don't get it, man. You don't get it, man.
The
you
metric,
don't get this at all.
I don't get it. Hey, man.
No.
Again, you're on your period again. So Michael Jones.
Wow. Listen to the insults, ladies and gentlemen.
Is the same?
Come on, guys. Let's chill. Let's chill on the insults. Let's just converse, man. Let's talk. Let's talk.
Why do you keep
he's getting emotional, man? That's why he has to keep insulting me, man. That's why he's getting so emotional.
Wow, I'm so emotional, Michael Jones. Can we please get back on topic?
Poor guy.
Yeah, poor guy. Yeah. So the metric that is used for the 1200s is it the same metric for the end of Babylon?
No.
Oh, okay. So Babylon didn't end.
It did end, yeah, when they were entirely conquered by the Medo-Persians.
So it is the same metric.
No, you're not actually answering my questions.
Oh,
okay?
No, don't run. No, don't run.
I'm not running. I want to keep talking about this.
So this is the metric that you use for the end of Rome in the 1200s, right?
It broke up into smaller kingdoms. Yeah, very different than the prior empires.
All right, beautiful. Did that happen with Babylon?
No, it was completely conquered by the Persians, so it's different. So how do you justify the stone doing the exact same thing?
Okay, beautiful. So one sec. You're saying that the end of Rome happened one way, and that constitutes its end, but that very end, what constitutes an end, didn't happen to Greece and the Medo-Persians, right?
They were completely conquered by prior empires, unlike the Roman Empire. So you still haven't given me your metric for 1453.
Doesn't Daniel say Rome will be divided?
Of course he does. Yeah, 395. It divided.
Oh, okay, but it's not specifically referring to 395, right?
That's what you've been saying for years. Now it's not.
What?
That's a weird argument. So now it doesn't divide in 395. So you're not changing your
Mike,
argument.
can you answer the question, Mike?
No, you got to answer me because you've been saying that the split that Daniel talks about is 395. Answer that.
So I'll answer you, Mike. Yeah, I previously made the argument that the split specifically refers to 395. I no longer think so. Do you think so?
Yeah, I think it's split in 395 into the Western and the Eastern.
Is that the only fact? And Daniel speaking about 395 only?
No, yeah, well, because you have two legs. So according to that, you would have two leg, two split kind of thing. So that makes actual sense.
What about the toes?
No, then you have to. Oh, so you want to include the toes? You want to include the toes? You do?
Wow, okay.
Great.
So you
just conceded the point. You just conceded everything.
All right.
Okay, so then, what are the toes of the Western Roman Empire? What are the toes of the Western Roman Empire?
Don't panic.
What are the toes of the Western Roman Empire?
Don't panic. Don't panic now, Mike.
Tell me the toes. Come on, tell me what the toes are.
Don't panic. The toes refer to different divisions and different kings, as Daniel 7 says. So don't panic.
There will be a division in the Western and the Eastern one, right?
Don't
panic. A division in the.
You won't answer my question,
guys. You won't answer my question. Notice this.
No, you won't answer my question. Daniel doesn't specify one division. Daniel just says the Romans will be divided. Some will be weak, or one part will be weak, and different parts will be strong. Different parts will be weak. They'll be strong and they'll be brittle. All right. So according to this, I'm justified in thinking that the Roman Empire will divide, unlike other empires. So now, please tell me, because I asked you earlier, under the view that it ended in 1453, does Islam fulfill that interpretation?
No, it does not. And I'll tell you why. It's quite simple. Because they did not claim to end it. They claimed to inherit it and continue on that empire. So did Russia. So did the Holy Roman Empire.
Can you show me where the Ottomans said that they're Romans and they thought they're Romans?
Yeah, it's from, I was going to read you this quote earlier and you panicked and wouldn't let me. Chris Wickham, Medieval Europe, Chapter 2, says East Rome, from then on we call it the Byzantine Empire, not the Roman Empire. Although its inhabitants called themselves Roman until its end, continued on for another 1,000 years until the conquest of the last remnants of the Ottoman Turks in the 15th century. And then the Ottomans used some of the basic fiscal administrative structures of the Byzantine past in their own state building, focused on their new capital in Constantinople, now Istanbul. In some sense, then, the Roman Empire lasted until the First World War. So yes, you can also check out.
You just said, Mike.
Let me finish.
Mike, you said they themselves said that they are Romans, right?
He's running. Yep. Yeah, they did. Yeah,
they said they were Romans.
I'm going to finish. You won't let me, man.
Yeah, finish. It's okay. The time is finished, but you can keep reading. Go ahead.
Is it time up, Marlon?
Yeah. No.
Time is up. Time is up.
It's okay. I give him permission to keep reading the quote. And I hope it's going to say that the Ottomans thought that they were Romans, that they were the Roman Empire.
Yeah, they did think that just like the Byzantines did.
All right. Can you? You said you're going to read it. Can you read it?
Okay. I got 3 more quotes here. Let's just read this one. Okay. Crap, I just actually lost my thing. So finally, by conquering Constantinople, the seat of the Roman emperors, the Ottomans asserted the title of Caesar. They refused to address the Holy Roman emperors as Caesars on the grounds that there could be only one Caesar on earth. Thus, they addressed Charles V simply as King of Spain and his successor Ferdinand as the King of Austria. This is in the book Holy Roman Empire and Ottomans, page 3, by Mehmet Sinan Bertel.
Where does it say that? So where are the Ottomans saying we are Romans? We are the Roman Empire?
They're calling themselves Caesars of Rome. How does that not resonate with you?
So calling yourself Caesar means you think you're a Roman?
Yes, it does.
All right, guys.
Okay. So you guys saw it here.
You guys.
Calling yourself Caesar makes you.
We're going to conclude. We're going
Nice,
to
man.
conclude the 30-minute open discussion.
Sounds good.
We're going to conclude it and end it. Many people were confused about. Many people thought you guys were being off topic. I think I was following. In some way anyway. I'm thinking that you guys are attempting to try to argue historical points to try to show that Muhammad is in the Bible or outside of the Bible. I think that was the point of argument, but it did venture off a little too much. And so maybe next time we can do a better job at keeping it on point a little better. But nonetheless, it's time for our 5-minute closings. And Mr. Orthodox, you are up for your 5-minute closing. And I will start your 5-minute timer as soon as you begin to speak.
Thank you very much. So I'll use this time to address some of the things that he just talked about and didn't let me respond to. So he never got to respond to the point about Enoch. He got destroyed on that. Matthew, he said it's hyper literal, then he got destroyed on that. He said that the Roman army is God's army, and he got destroyed on that. Jesus historically crucified and died. He failed. He thinks that we don't think that the first century Christians believe that Jesus crucified, and he admitted that the crucifixion does not necessitate Christianity. He admitted 3 gods, hence Christianity can't be the monotheistic empire. He admitted that according to scholarship, Jesus spoke of Ahmed to come, who will sit on the right hand of God, who will be the Son of Man, to usher in the kingdom of God. He admitted that prophecies can be taken out of context as long as they're typological. He admitted that Songs of Solomon is a prophecy about Muhammad. He admitted that Isaiah 29 is a prophecy about Muhammad. So that's awesome, man. Thank you so much for that, IP. He tries to, the Quran confirms the Bible, covenant. We didn't get to speak about that because he was stuck on that. Anyways, in order to get away, I want everybody to pay attention here. In order to get away from the inevitable conclusion, he has to play semantics and dance around and try to claim that the Turks are Ottomans or that the Turks are Romans, that the Ottoman Empire really just is the Roman Empire, ladies and gents. That's what AIP wants us to believe. But why does he want us to believe that? Well, he wants us to believe that because according to the timeline and according to the mainstream historical view, you don't even need it. According to what we see, according to the historical data, the Muslims came and all of a sudden they subjugated the Romans and the Persians and grew as a mountain and filled the whole earth. They destroyed Rome in 1453. That's the icing on the cake. Okay, but Christians way before that in the 7th century and Jews way before that from the 7th to the 10th centuries admitted that the Romans were destroyed and subjugated by the sons of Ishmael, by the kingdom of Ishmael. So you had to appeal to secular takes, you had to appeal to fringe takes to avoid the unavoidable, that Islam is the kingdom of God prophesied by Daniel, and there's just simply no way out of this. He got refuted on Matthew. We never got to speak about Psalm 74, unfortunately, or Malachi. We didn't have enough time. But yeah, thank you, IP, so much for the concessions. The clips are going to go crazy. And yeah, thank you for having me, host. I appreciate it. I enjoyed this. And hopefully I could come back here another time. Thank you for being a fair moderator. That's all I need.
Thank you. Thank you for your 5-minute closing. All right, Mike, you are up for your 5-minute closing, and I will start your time as soon as you begin to speak.
All right. Thank you for the dialogue. I really appreciate it, Marlon. And just remember, I mean, just look how emotional he got with all the insults, dodging, laughing, not really responding. Again, he said on TikTok that he thinks 50% of debates is rhetoric. So just remember, there was one guy here, him, who was just focusing on rhetoric, and one who kept trying to present facts, and it just didn't work. He had no response to the biblical prophet dilemma. Again, you guys are looking for your Muhammad in our book. He's supposed to teach your theology. Okay, the prophets in our books teach our theology. So whatever it is, they cannot be yours. So it's funny. I was going to say that he was going to show Islam is false by trying to show Muhammad is in the Bible. He didn't even show Muhammad is in the Bible. He did not defend Surah 7:157 or Surah 61:6. I guess he thinks that you can't find those in the Bible. He never once did that. So I guess he conceded the debate. Thank you for that. The Quran is wrong when it claims that we can find the description of the unlettered prophet in our Torah and Gospel, because I didn't see any evidence of that. And I guess Surah 61:6 is also wrong because Jesus never spoke of someone named Ahmed. So great. That's perfect. All he did was to try to say that Bart Ehrman says, or some other scholars say that Jesus speaks of the Son of Man as a different person. But Bart Ehrman, as I point out, acknowledges in the Gospel of Mark, Jesus is the Son of Man. I thought the debate was, is Muhammad in the Bible? Not is Muhammad in the works of Bart Ehrman. So he's confused about the debate topic. He doesn't understand typology. You can concede that if you start with Islam is true, and then you can read typological patterns into the Old Testament. That's not actually arguing for Islam. That's conceding that you can't, because you have to do typology. If you're just doing typology, you're not actually arguing the case. And you don't actually understand what typology is if you think that was a concession. And he couldn't answer me on the Roman Empire. Okay. Again, I have pointed out, he just laughed at the Ottomans' claim, which is weird. Okay. I argue the Roman Empire ended in 1204 when it broke up into smaller kingdoms. Same with the Western. That was never conquered by Islam. If we're going on this, though, if other people can come in and rule and claim to be Romans, like the Byzantines, who were Greek by descent, who spoke a different language, if they can claim to be Romans because they inherited the Roman Empire, even though they weren't Latin-speaking, ethnically Italians, then so can the Ottomans, so can the Russians, so can the Holy Roman Empire. But see, he doesn't deal with any of these historical issues because he can't. And he just acknowledged that. He conceded everything on that because he said, I don't know. I just go on what the secular historians say. But he won't do that when it comes to his interpretation of the Bible. So he's got a double standard there. He will use what the secular historians say for the Roman Empire, but won't do it for Daniel. And he can give no metric whatsoever. So what else? Also, the Ottomans didn't fill the whole earth. Islam didn't fill the whole earth. So that doesn't work either. The stone is a spiritual kingdom. It's made not with human hands, and it does something different, as John Walton points out. It destroys the whole statue. If it was just another earthly kingdom, it would just be another layer, but it's doing something else. It's destroying the entire system of empires. He wanted to bring up Malachi 3. Malachi 3 isn't going to work. It's not about an exile, as he likes to argue. Christopher K.W. Moore says, the prophet writing after the return from the exile took up the theme and looked forward to a time when the Lord would once more return to the temple. He says the Lord is going to return to the temple, not some prophet. Also, Malachi 3:3 says he will purify the sons of Levi. Muhammad never did that. So going to that would have been very embarrassing for him. Good thing he didn't have time to do that. It just would have been bad. So again, no evidence that Islam actually ended the Roman Empire. It broke up into smaller kingdoms, many of which are still existing today. So it doesn't actually work. You can't say that Islam fulfills Daniel 2, because again, it doesn't actually operate like the stone does from heaven. And remind you, once again, we saw no evidence that Muhammad is in the Bible. He focused on Daniel 2 and Matthew, which he couldn't actually respond on. He just had to literally read into those parables when it was convenient for him, and then ignore details that didn't align up. For example, the first parable says the sun and the air will be killed. He wants to argue that's John the Baptist. John the Baptist is never called the sun or the air. Only Jesus is. And yet, guess what? The prior parable doesn't do that either. He's misunderstood that parable in his prior talks on this. So again, there's no evidence Muhammad is in the Bible, unfortunately. Therefore, I guess Islam is false. He did not defend Surah 7:157 or Surah 61:6. Even if he was right about those, that still would not be Muhammad in the Bible. He spent this whole time not even debating the topic. I had a lot of fun though, and I look forward to the 80 videos of damage control he'll have to do after this. So it's gonna be great.
Guys, for a fantastic, fiery debate. I know many people in the live chat are like, man, it was off topic. Moderator, you ain't stepping in enough and all that. Hey, you guys don't understand how difficult it can be when you guys get to these discussions like this, man. So a lot of people are in the chat chiming in. They don't know the substance, man. And half of them ain't never been in the type of discussion that you guys are in, but they have so many criticisms. But the idea is that at the end of the day, I do appreciate you guys' conversation. I think we got a lot out of it. And maybe we can do this again sometime. And so now we're going to jump into our 30-minute Q&A. And so we do have a lot of questions here. So the way the Q&A works is that each of you will get 1 minute to respond to the question. The person who the question was originally for gets a 30-second response after the second person responds to the question that it wasn't originally for. So hopefully you guys understand what I'm saying there. Let's see if I can find a question. A lot of these are just statements. And just so you guys know, audience, if you did a super chat just to insult one of the debaters, you wasted money. You wasted your money because I'm not going to read it. So I'm only looking for questions. So that's what I'm looking for here. All right, so here's a question for you, and I think this question's for you, Orthodox Muslim here. And for whatever reason, this thing does not want to cooperate here. All right, so I have to force it up here. All right, so the question is, thank you for the support, Dawa Troll. How does the failed prophecies prove Muhammad is in the Bible?
Sorry, how does failed prophecies?
Yeah, prove Muhammad is in the Bible is the question here.
I don't. That question is unintelligible. I don't know what that means. How does failed prophecies prove the Prophet Muhammad in the Bible? I don't know what that means.
I think he might have been poking fun at it, but I mean, if you want to answer it, you're not too worried about it, then we can just.
Well, there's nothing to answer. I'm just like I don't know what he's saying. Question is unintelligible.
All right, Mike, you got anything to say about that?
I'm not sure what he means as well. We can move on.
All right, so we are definitely doing that. Let's move on. Let's see. See if I can. So bear with me because there's a lot of questions here.
Yep.
And here's a question for Orthodox here. This comes from Chris Claus. Thank you, Chris, for the support. The verses you quoted, do you believe Allah revealed these verses to you quoted, do you believe Allah revealed these verses to the prophet you quoted?
Yeah, so I gave a couple justifications for why I quoted the parables of Matthew, because I'll be accused of cherry picking, but it's not, because we have to treat all relevant historical data as historical reports. I'm not justified in just accepting them without reasonable grounds. Therefore, that's why I employed the criteria of authenticity, like the criterion of dissimilarity and criterion of independent attestation for Matthew 21, Matthew 22. As for Daniel, I believe it's a tradition that goes back to Daniel. I don't think the book of Daniel is written by Daniel himself. But why I think that it's a prophecy and it's divinely inspired, because it could be externally verified by its fulfillment. And because its fulfillment is so clear, therefore the prophecy must go back to the prophet.
IP?
Yeah, this is, again, these prophecies are theologically indexed. And if he's going to apply historical criteria, then he's got to also look at that elsewhere. For example, if you go to, Mark 8, where Jesus is talking about the Son of Man, he says the Son of Man is going to die. But, scholars like Mike Licona will note that that claim in its context, where he tries to where he rebukes Peter for trying to stop him, that means things like the criterion of dissimilarity, criterion of embarrassment, historical and cultural congruence, multiple attestation. So he'd have to accept those as well. He'd have to accept a lot of the other aspects of the Gospels that would contradict Islam, which he's not going to do. So he's really just picking and choosing when he wants to apply the historical criteria and when he doesn't.
All right. Orthodox Mother, you get 30 seconds.
Oh, I can respond to that? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
you get
Cool.
30 seconds to respond.
Oh, okay, cool. So, no, absolutely not. Just because a text or a prophecy is theologically indexed, I would agree with him that it's obviously going to be theologically indexed. But just because it's theologically indexed, it doesn't mean that the tradition in its origin means what the author who's writing this down or receiving this tradition means. So, as the Jesus Seminary or the Jesus Seminary notes, or scholars like E.P. Sanders, scholars like Adela Collins, they would say that, look, originally Jesus spoke of the Son of Man as a distinct figure, but the Gospel of Mark and the Gospel of Matthew think the Son of Man is Jesus. The Gospel authors are applying this to Jesus, but originally this didn't apply to Jesus. So that's an example of something that's theologically indexed, but its origin can be traced to mean something else. And other scholars note that with Paul as well, with the pre-Pauline traditions that Paul inherits, and creeds and confessional statements and so on and so forth. Sorry.
That's about 30 seconds. 30
Yeah.
seconds. All right.
Yeah.
So this question's for you, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And question for IP. Can you read 2 Peter 2:16 in the KJV? It's Muhammad in the Bible.
What is it? 2 Peter 2:16?
Yeah, 2 Peter 2:16 in the KJV. It's Muhammad in the Bible.
Oh, but was rebuked for his own transgression. A speechless donkey spoke with human voice and restrained the prophet's madness.
I think he's just poking fun. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
These guys, man. Let me see. Hold on. Yeah, a lot of these are just like statements and like insults. And I'm not trying to read these statements here, man. Let me see. Let me try to find some intelligible questions here. I mean, there's some statements here that I think are worthy to sort of interact with here. So this one is coming from IP's partner with Inspired Philosophy, and I think it's maybe a worthy to interact with. He says external verification, huh? Yeah, he says external verification fails. Verifying a verse requires interpretation. Interpretation needs prior context and theology. That theology excludes Muhammad, who contradicts biblical doctrine. So it's a statement, but I think it's a worthy interaction. What do you think,
Sure.
Orthodox?
Sure. Yeah, I disagree. I think that doesn't follow. If there is a prophecy in the biblical text, as long as we could demonstrate that it's externally verifiable, then we have reasonable ground to accept this to be from God. And no, like I said, not every tradition has to align with its theological index, meaning if the author intends one thing by tradition, it doesn't mean that the tradition aligns with the intention of the author. And several scholars note that. Number two, I don't think that Islamic doctrine contradicts any Old Testament doctrine as far as the fundamental doctrines go. I think the New Testament doctrines contradict, as IP admitted 3 gods.
Right, Mike? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, he, for some reason, didn't want to debate the topic earlier and wanted to try to debate the Trinity for some weird reason. But the point of this is that external verification fails if you're not actually in line with those texts. So, for example, like when you go through the Bible, it's going to predict prophets. Unless you're going to get a prediction like, yeah, this prophet's going to come and he's going to correct your corrupted scriptures, it doesn't work. Like, for example, if you were going to go through like Aztec writings, and we were going to, and they're going to predict coming prophets, for example, in this hypothetical world, we would expect them to be in line with Aztec theology. And so we couldn't actually use that as data because it would be a total contradiction of the theology that's presented. That's why I said he's got to find his Muhammad in our scriptures, which is impossible. That's why this argument completely fails. And that's why you just need to stop using it. You got to use other means of verification for your religion. This one is completely circular, or it just flat out fails.
All right, you get 30
I
seconds.
get to respond.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
Yeah, nice rhetoric, IP, but that doesn't work. So, like I said, IP is begging the question there. Islam does not think that it doesn't co-align with previous prophets. It does affirm that. However, we're saying that these texts are not entirely reliable. You're asking me, how do I determine between what is reliable and what is not reliable? But I do agree that the message coming after must align with the message coming before. And I gave you my criteria and my justification as to why I would accept one tradition over the other. And you do the same thing with Enoch, by the way.
All right, this question is for you, IP. Should have one here. Let me make sure. Where's it at? I just had it up here too. Let me hold on. Here, where did he go? Sorry guys, these questions got me all bogged up right here. Because I had a question for you and I'm trying to find it. Man, where is this question at? Gosh, man.
I know, worries. Take your time.
Yeah. Question for you. Where is it now? All right, here's a question for you, IP, right here.
Okay.
All right, it says IP said that Liviano threw Ivan Qatar under the bus for Ivan Tamayya. Am I pronouncing that right? Hopefully I did. My question for IP: do you know who teacher of Ibn Qatar is?
Ibn Kathir, you mean?
Ibn Kathir. I'm sorry.
Ibn Kathir and Ibn Taymiyyah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
No, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'm referring to the Tafsir on Surah 61:14, where Ibn Kathir says that Jesus asked his disciples, who's going to be the substitute for him to die. So they were obviously made aware of this, and so you'd be throwing a scholar under the bus there by the Islamic standard.
Right.
Wow, man. Yeah, IP keeps pooping himself. So, for example, when Irenaeus says that Jesus is 50 years old, does that mean you're throwing Irenaeus under the bus if you reject his opinion? So there's nothing dogmatic about what happened at the crucifixion. There's different opinions. There's different traditions that are passed down by the Salaf, but no, we're not obliged to accept them. And my position, you're arguing against my position, is that the disciples were not aware. And thank you for conceding that it doesn't necessitate Christianity.
Can I respond to that now? Yeah. So again, he said that they were supposed to teach what the Quran teaches. But according to him, the disciples were going around teaching that Jesus really did die and gave rise to Christianity because of that teaching. So it's just, if they were actually teaching Islam, they would be teaching it was made to appear that he did, and they weren't. So they were deceived. They were teaching something that the Quran doesn't teach. They're not Muslims. It just doesn't work. So yeah, it doesn't matter how many times he nervously laughs at it.
Okay.
All right. And here's a question for Limiano here. And this is coming from Metaphysic Mike. Question on the point that it was only made to appear as if Jesus died. Are you saying that the apostles also believe this, or they believe he did die, but only because it was made to appear so to them?
It's very simple, and I'm glad Metaphysics Mike is asking this. Very simple. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says he made it appear so. What does that mean? People believed it. People wrote it, transmitted it, said it, including the disciples. All right. Now, the knowledge that it was a mere appearance and not reality didn't come until the 7th century. So they had no reason to think that it was a mere appearance and not reality until God sheds light in the 7th century. But as he conceded, crucifixion doesn't necessitate Christianity. Christianity necessitates crucifixion, and that's Paul's point in Galatians chapter 3.
Yeah, so it
Mike,
just
any
sounds
thoughts?
like that Allah just basically created a false religion, deceived everyone for 600 years, and now we got to take the word of an illiterate man claiming to be a prophet living in Arabia for some reason. This is absurd by any historical standards, and it's also an ad hoc reading. It's far more it's simpler and far more parsimonious to just say Jesus was crucified than it was just made to appear. You've had an additional layer that's just not justified in the historical data. So why should we trust? I mean, that's just a good reason to dismiss Islam. It's just an ad hoc religion.
Right, all right. I think you get 30 seconds, Lumiano.
Oh, I get to respond? Wow, this guy is calling my answer ad hoc when he thinks when Jesus says, I don't know, he doesn't actually mean I don't know, but to declare. Wow, man, ad hoc, he says. So no, it's not ad hoc. You're asking if it is Islamically justified, not historically justified. I could agree that independent from the Quran, the historical data suggests that Jesus died. But the Quran doesn't contradict that because the Quran says it was made to appear so. Now, am I justified into thinking that historically happened? Yes, because I have other independent reason to think the Quran is true. Therefore, because the Quran is true, and this is not circular because I have other independent reason to first substantiate the Quran is true. Therefore, I could say that Jesus really didn't die. But historically, it seemed that way. And remember, you said crucifixion doesn't necessitate Christianity. Therefore, you can't make the claim that Allah started Christianity because crucifixion doesn't necessitate Christianity. Thank you, Mike.
All right, so here's a statement, Mike. Perhaps you can tackle this question here. And this is coming from Dean Responds. Thank you for the support. It says, nice entry historian Christian. I don't know how to pronounce these words, guys. You got to help me out here. Hayun bin Ishaq. Am I pronouncing that right?
Ibn Ishaq.
Ibn Ishaq. Okay. Has a Greek word dox as hamad. I'm telling you, I'm struggling with these words. He has also humped. Okay. He has also indoxos as
It's a Greek word.
Muhammad. Indoxos as Muhammad. Would it be fair to say Ahmed would mean the person who has the most dox according to him? You understand that question, Mike?
I need to know what those words actually refer to.
All right. So can I explain it to him? I can explain it to him if he wants.
Yeah. Explain to him real quick.
All right. So he says, according to the source, 9th century historian Christian Hunayn ibn Ishaq. So Hunayn ibn Ishaq, who must have a Greek Arabic lexicon, I think that's what he's referring to. He has the Greek word dox or doxe as hamd, which is the root word for Ahmed and Muhammad, Hamada, right? And he also uses indoxos for Muhammad. Okay, so he's saying, can you repeat that last sentence? It doesn't show here. I'm on the YouTube. What does he say after indoxos?
He says, would it be fair to say Ahmed would mean the person who has the most dox according to him?
So he's saying, does Ahmed therefore mean the one who has the most doxos?
Okay.
No idea, because again, this is completely irrelevant to the topic. So I'm not prepared for this issue. Completely irrelevant to the topic. Has nothing to do with Muhammad in the Bible. What some 9th century Christian was saying.
Has everything to do. Can I respond now? It has everything to do with Muhammad in the Bible, because IP conceded the debate and said that according to the earliest view, according to scholars like E.P. Sanders, Rudolf Bultmann, Adela Collins, Bart Ehrman, and most of German scholarship, the Son of Man was a distinct figure that Jesus spoke about, who comes at the right hand of the Father, and he is the most glorified. He is Ahmed, So thank you for admitting that according to the scholarship, Jesus spoke of Ahmed to come.
So the respond, this is again the debate Muhammad in the Bible, not is Muhammad in the works of E.P. Sanders. Okay. Bart Ehrman says, according to Mark, Jesus is the Son of Man. You don't seem to get that point. So again, notice what they have to do. They can't go to the Bible. They have to go to what skeptical scholars say that don't actually even show this stuff. They just ad hoc assert it without any good, strong evidence. The overwhelming majority of scholars say Jesus is claiming to be the Son of Man, like Dale Allison, for example, N.T. Wright, Daryl Bach, for example. This is a small minority view, and they're not even going to the Bible. They're saying there's some earlier layer they can detect, and their evidence is they just say so. So again, if that's conceding the debate, you don't actually understand the debate.
Maybe this is a statement you can actually well, I think you got the last question, Mike, but let me see if I have a question for Mr. I'm sure I do. Got a lot of questions here. All right, so here is a question for you, and I think it fits perfectly with the topic as well, Libiano. Says here, if you think that Muhammad is the Son of Man to come, are you saying he was given dominion and glory by Allah, as Daniel said in Daniel 7?
Beautiful question. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, He gives dominion to whom He wants and He takes away dominion from whom He wants. So yes, Allah gives dominion and He takes away dominion. And the Son of Man, who is the Prophet Muhammad, was given dominion and authority because he's the leader. And he says, Ana Sayyidu Bani Adam, I am the master of the sons of men. So he is the Son of Man, who is the master of the sons of men, who was given authority. And if he says, well, it says that all nations will serve him, well, the same word is used for King Nebuchadnezzar in Jeremiah 27, where it says all nations and all people will worship King Nebuchadnezzar, but the word there is pilach in the Targum, which means a service that's not necessarily due to God. Thank you.
All right, Mike, any thoughts?
Yeah, the problem for this is the Son of Man that comes in Daniel 7 comes with the clouds, and as J.A. Emerton notes, the act of coming with clouds suggests a theophany of Yahweh himself. If Daniel 7:13 does not refer to a divine being, then it is the only exception out of about 70 passages in the Old Testament. This is in the Origin of the Son of Man imagery in Studies on the Language and Literature of the Bible, page 440. So, I mean, if you're going that, you're claiming that the Bible says the Son of Man is divine. Great, that would exclude Islam. But I mean, they're going to special plead and say that that doesn't mean he's divine, even though scholars say it.
Wow. So IP makes a big blunder and he says that, it says that Yahweh comes with the... No, it doesn't. Show me one verse where it says Yahweh comes with the clouds. Yahweh rides the clouds. And if you've ever read Daniel 7, this is how I know you don't know your Bible. Daniel 7 shows the 4 monsters coming from the bottom of the sea because they're pagan empires. But the 5th kingdom of God comes from up above, from the clouds. So you have the imagery from the bottom of the sea and from the top with the clouds. It has nothing to do with Yahweh. Yahweh rides the clouds. He doesn't come with the clouds. Thank you very much. You baked yourself.
I've
All right,
quoted scholars, mind you, the actual experts.
All right,
I also quoted scholars, but you threw them.
Okay. All right. The interaction back and forth is discontinued. All right, so this question for IP here. Thank you for the support. And this question is... for IP, for an empire to be a literal continuation, we expect institutional continuity, same ruling tradition, political identity, same legal framework.
Can you start over? You kind of slurred slurred there a little bit. I didn't hear what you said.
Sorry about that. It says, for an empire, this question is for IP, for an empire to be a literal continuation, we expect institutional continuity, same ruling tradition, political identity, same legal framework, and same religion. Do Ottomans check all of this?
No, but also neither do the Byzantines, for example. They did not have continuity with the ancient Romans. They evolved to be different. They were being ruled. They were Greeks, Thracians, for example, rolling different language. And then when you have the breakup in 1204, again, Constantine Lascaris doesn't take the traditional titles or the traditional procedures to become Roman emperor when he's reigning over Nicaea, because they were acknowledging at the time that the Roman Empire is broken up. So you have a break there. So if that's the case, that's when the Roman Empire ends. If you're going to say that they can continue to be the Roman Empire by just claiming it, okay, then the Ottomans claim that. The Holy Roman Emperors claim that. And again, if you're just going to allow for the empire to break up and still continue to be that empire by just saying it's Daniel's perspective, well, then guess what? Then Islam never got the Western Roman Empire, aka the Holy Roman Empire. They failed in 1683 at the gates of Vienna.
Right.
All right.
Orthodox?
Can I speak now?
Yes,
All
sir.
I gotta say, guys, ladies and gents, just remember that IP Today said that the Roman Empire still exists and that the Roman Empire is the Ottoman Empire, guys. The Ottoman Empire is the Roman Empire. It is the Russian Empire. I'm the Roman Empire myself. We're all the Roman Empire, guys. We're all the Roman Empire. That's all.
And just to respond, he's given no metric to actually know when the Roman Empire ended. And again, I did not say the Roman Empire still exists. I said it ended in 1204. But if you're going to use the weird metrics you were throwing out to try to get out of this debacle you put yourself in, you're the one who is saying accidentally the Roman Empire outlasted 1453. So you don't actually know the history, and everyone could see that.
Right. And we have about 5 minutes left in this Q&A here, and so we're going to try to get some more questions here. Let's see if I can find one. This question is for Leviano.
Yes.
All right. So this question says, would you accept a man applying a prophecy of the Quran to someone while that someone contradicts the same message of the Quran, like others have tried? Like Rashid Khalifa is the standard Quranic theology.
Excellent. No, because I have justifiable independent reason to think so. I have historical reason to think the Quran is preserved. And I have historical reason to think why my tradition is preserved and goes back to the Prophet himself. And because I could historically establish this, then it becomes a metaphysical impossibility in this world to be for there to be another prophet after the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
All right, Mike.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to start with the assumption of Islam and the Islamic texts, you're going to assume the theology of those texts. And so you would reject later prophets. Same thing applies to the Bible. And we often argue, I have a 15-part series on the reliability of the Gospels. I have videos on the reliability of the Old Testament. We can show these are reliable documents, and they've not been drastically corrupted as Muslims like to claim. So if we're going to start with our scripture, we have to conclude Islam is false because they would predict a prophet in line with what our scriptures teach, not what Islam teaches. So it's the same principle that applied. I'm really glad Libiano said that, because that's the point I'm trying to make about his whole argument.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, all those videos you made, they suck. You've been doing this for 15 years and you still don't get it. So the reason why that doesn't work is because there is enough historical reason to justify that the earliest view of those traditions are not what the post-Easter church wants them to be. And that's what I could demonstrate. So because I could demonstrate that, then therefore there is a symmetry breaker. Thank you, Mikey Jones. You failed, man. Nice.
Let me see if I can get some more questions here. Trying to keep it even kill, you know what I mean? I'm trying to get it to where one question for Liv and another question for Mike, but the problem is a lot of these questions are just statements of people ridiculing you guys. You know, they're saying crazy stuff about you guys. So that's the majority of these super chats are. Let's see if I can find one here. Trying to find one for you, Mike. So, It's like statements, man. I mean, I have a question for Libiano. Let me see if I can get this one in, I guess. It's a lot of questions for Lib. I'm just trying to even it out a little bit here. All right, so this question says, show from your Quran and Allah that Daniel is a prophet of Allah. No, it's the same God, so don't appeal to Daniel and the Jews.
Sorry, the question is, show that Daniel is a prophet of Allah.
Yeah, it says, Liliano, show from your Quran and Allah that Daniel is a prophet from Allah. No way, it's the same God, so don't appeal to Daniel and the Jews.
Okay, beautiful. Well, we have a tradition that's actually attested by non-Christian Syriac chronicles that as the Muslims were doing their conquests, they found the body of Daniel. And upon finding the body of Daniel was preserved, and it had a manuscript with them, and it had Daniel too, and it was translated, and it was verified to be a prophecy about Islam. Now, you may think, well, is this attested anywhere else? Yes, it's attested in the Khuzestan Chronicle. It's a Christian chronicle in 650 AD that mentions that Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, the companion of the Prophet, found the body of Daniel, and basically corroborating the historical event. Also, another way that I could verify this is because I have reasonable grounds to think Daniel is a prophet, therefore Daniel is a prophet.
All right, Mike.
Yeah, again, we're going back to the book of Daniel, which contradicts Islamic theology in multiple ways. If you go to Daniel 9, for example, it talks about the temple being destroyed after the 490 years, which a lot of Muslims say is somehow from the Bar Kokhba rebellion to the time of Islam, which doesn't line up. And again, despite what they say, no one in the Old Testament comes with the clouds of heavens other than divine figures. So Yahweh, for example. So this is why scholars note the Son of Man is a divine figure in 7. That contradicts Islam. They're going to a book that contradicts their own theology to try to argue for it. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to get into Constantine, the little horn, because I wanted to go over all that mess that they try to use. But yeah, it is what it is.
All right. You have 30 seconds?
Oh, I have 30 seconds? Oh, okay. So, what's it called? What was the question again? I kind of zoned out, man. What was the question again? Oh, yeah, Daniel's body. Right, Daniel's body. Oh, yeah, so he says Daniel contradicts Islam. No, it doesn't. That's an assumption. That's an assumption. You're begging the question. No, Daniel 7 is not a proof text for the Son of Man being Yahweh, because I just told you that coming on the clouds is not the same as the imagery of Yahweh, the theophanies of Yahweh coming on the clouds or riding on the clouds. In the text, the coming on the clouds is being contrasted by the monsters, the animals coming from the bottom of the sea. Has nothing to do with Yahweh. So no, Daniel doesn't contradict. Also, Daniel 9, you said from the Bar Kokhba revolt. Sorry, I never said that. I don't know you're coming up with that. And I would have loved to talk about the little horn. And no, I wasn't going to say it's Constantine. I think it's ambiguous. So I don't know why you thought I would say that. But Daniel 9 is a failed Christian prophecy. I'd love to talk about that any time of the day.
All right. We're going to conclude the Q&A. Our time did expire there. So thank you guys for that. Sorry, everyone. I obviously would not be able to get to every single super chat that came in. And about 90% of them were just insults and little craspy statements. So I do thank everyone for supporting the channel, because it definitely goes to a good source, a good ministry. And so I thank you guys for supporting the channel. And I thank you too as well for coming on and debating this heavily anticipated topic. And so before I let you guys go, I do want to give you guys a chance to sort of rehash, let everybody know again, should I say, where you guys are, where they can find you, man, your YouTube channel, blogs, whatever it is, man. Go ahead and let them know, and then say your goodbyes. All right, Mike, you got it, man.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this debate. I appreciate it. You can find me on Inspiring Philosophy on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, you name it, just the same handle. And thanks for the opportunity. I had a lot of fun.
All right. Orthodox Muslim.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you for being a fair moderator. I think it went pretty well. I had a lot of fun. You could find me on YouTube, The Orthodox Muslim, on TikTok, The Orthodox Muslim, on Instagram, Orthodox Muslim, and stay tuned for the clips coming from this debate today. I do appreciate it, Marlon. It was nice, man, and yeah, you're a great host. I enjoyed it.
All right, cool, guys. All right, thank you once again for coming on, and maybe we could do this again sometime. Definitely appreciate your time, and you guys go ahead and enjoy the rest of your evening. All right.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
All right. All right, guys, that is the end of that one, man. I pray that you guys enjoyed it. I know a lot of you guys were like, man, I'm getting a little bit off topic. They're getting off topic. Can we bring it back in? Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it happens. And, I step in and try to reel them back in and get back to the substance of the conversation. But I think it was fun, though. I think the conversation was fun. I think they really get at each other. And sometimes that happens, right? When things get passionate, things get going. The claws come out of somewhat, and that's what you expect with topics like this, right? If the claws didn't come out a little bit, I would question the sincerity of their positions. If the claws didn't come out, and so I know everyone's going to have their opinions. It could have been better moderating, could have been better this, and as I stated before, you guys don't understand until you guys put your feet into the ring, right? Until you step into the octagon, if you will. Understand what it's like to be in this kind of environment. And so, from your angle, it could be pretty easy. You think it's easy, but it's challenging. And so, I definitely appreciate everyone that came on. I appreciate everyone in the live chat. I appreciate everyone that actually supported the ministry. And I appreciate Mike and Libiano as well for jumping on here, man. They took time away for their families and everything to be able to jump on. And I do appreciate them choosing the Gospel Truth to host this debate, man. They could have went anywhere else, but they chose this one. And so I just hope that you guys will come back. If you guys have yet to do so, make sure that you guys are subscribing to the Gospel Truth. And make sure you guys are hitting that notification bell if you have yet to do so. Make sure you do it so you miss all the shows that are coming up here in the future. And like I said, the Gospel Truth Conference is coming up in a few days. If you have yet to buy your tickets, get your tickets. All right, get your tickets. Make sure you do that because you don't want to miss out on the conference. It's coming up here soon. So make sure you do that. Make sure you check it out. All right. With that said, I'm going to get out of here, and I pray that you guys all have a blessed one and hit that subscribe button and notification bell on the way out. All right. May God bless you. May God keep you. Go.